I know, I owed you guys. I owed you guys from last night. Don't come for me. Do not come for me. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hello. Gonna leave you on red again. Please do not. Yes, listen to Cream. Hi. Welcome back. It seems like we were just here literally an hour ago. Did you shower? I haven't showered in a week. I have not showered in a week. Hi. You're so sad. I know. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you guys somehow. No, you guys make it up to me. I almost had to read a book. Read that book, about personalities and stuff. Okay, yes. Dirty. For like the new viewers are probably coming in here and they're like, this girl, she makes videos and she doesn't shower. Okay, tune in tomorrow. Michelle, hopefully you can make it. I want to do like a shopping makeup live tomorrow. I was supposed to do it last Sunday. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So turn on your notifications, do all them things. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like button, hype it up. Hype the lives. It really helps the smaller channels. So, okay, you need to apologize. Whatever you do, don't wash your hair. Just the body, please. We don't have time. Just wash your body, please. I have to binge watch the last 2 lives. I got behind and moving fast. Yes, we are moving fast. I'm wanting to hopefully be able to do 2 Mackenzie lives tomorrow. We need to get on it, baby. We got like 26,000 more pages. Hello, that one. Okay. Are you guys cheating on me? Let me find out you guys are in other chats and I see you in other chats. Let me find out. We're going to have a problem. Hey, Sarah. Hello. I have 20 minutes left on the last part and I'm caught up. Yay! Okay. We left off. I don't remember what was going on. Excuse me. Thank you. Let me pull it up. I think they were fighting about something per usual. Let me find out you guys are over there cheating on me. And then I'm going to be in your house waiting for you. And we're going to talk. We're going to talk about this. Okay? We need to talk about this. When are they not fighting? Good question. Okay, let's see. I have written down. So we left off around here. So we're on May 30th, 2020, 8:58. We're starting from the beginning. I don't care what anyone says about, people are reading. Don't even make me. Do not get me started. Okay? Don't get me started. Hey, I'm Crammy. Yeah, I know. Last night, my stomach hurt last night. I was so stressed out because you were cheating on me. You guys are cheating on me. Sad not to make a joke, but it's almost foreshadowed. I know. Okay. So we're starting from the beginning because we want to know everything. That's just it. Okay, so 5:30. Hey, Natasha. May 30th, 2020 at 8:58 p.m. We left off about here. She said, babe, FaceTime. She says, come back soon. And he says, I'll leave in 10 to 20 minutes. Hold on, let me go back a little bit and see what they were doing. Do you guys remember? You guys probably remember more than me. I smoked all them dabs. Just kidding. Okay, let me see. Did you leave yet? She's like, did you leave? My anxiety is really bad right now. What was going on? Hold on, we need to do a little refresh. They were just hanging out. Yeah, it sounds like maybe they're just coming out. She's like, please come fast. My anxiety is really bad right now. It's on 5:30. She's like, did you leave yet? I'm ready. It's been 10 minutes. She removes it. Can you please come now? You said you were going to come at 5. It's almost been a whole hour. And you're on D&D for some reason. Babe, FaceTime. Come back soon. And he says, I'll leave in 10 to 20 minutes. She says, yay. Babe, FaceTime. Babe, when you're up, text me. This is the next morning at 10:35 a.m. She says, I texted Angelo last night to tell you to FaceTime me, and he told me you weren't home. So now I'm confused AF. Oh my gosh. She literally is spying through Angelo. She says, I texted Angelo and he said you weren't home. He's like, no, I slept. My bad. She says, wait, what does that mean? I texted Angelo last night to tell you to FaceTime me and he told me you weren't home, so now I'm confused. And he's like, no, I slept, my B. She says, LMAO, I knew that was going to happen. How did you sleep? What does it have to do with him not being home or being home? She says, babe, want to hang again today? Maybe we can go eat tonight because all the restaurants are open, I think. This was around pandemic time. And he says, yeah, we could probably do that. And I got to do fat laundry right now. She says, I seen your pile was high AF. I can help you do laundry if you want. He says, yeah, come over. Oh, okay. So he wants her help. Yeah. Okay, Dom. He wants her help. When it's beneficial to him, you guys, you know what I'm saying is true. Okay, so he says, yeah, come over. She says, okay, bet, be there in 10. He says, actually, don't come over. Oh, he says, my washer and dryer don't work. I thought he was bailing. And he says, exclamation. And he says, exclamation again. He says, retext. She says, oh, you don't want to hang anymore? Yeah, I don't. She says, okay, sad face. Okay, we can hang a little later. If you need to wash your clothes, you can do it at my house, by the way. He says, I'm doing it at Nikki's. She says, oh, okay. Hit me up when you're done with laundry. If still be down to chill after, babe. And he says, I don't know if I'll want to. I probably won't want to, for real. She's like, why not? We were just about to hang this morning. He says, because I don't want to. She says, and she sends a screenshot. He says, there's a tank at the mall. And she says, I think so. I'm going to go see it soon. On my way there right now. He says, LOL. She says, check Insta soon. 2 groups of helicopters and 2 SWAT cars. He says, is anything else going on or is that it? She says, I don't know. I think they have them in Medina too. We're going to go there to check. We're going to go there too. Check Insta. And he says, I did. She said, Maddie's working at the mall. He says, throw food at her. She says, LMAO, no, I'm not there right now. My mom won't let me go in. I just texted her. He said, to where? She said, to the mall. We just drove past it. And he said, oh. She says, I want to go in bad AF though. He says, so you didn't even go in at all? She says, no, she doesn't want to go in. I'm going in right now. Dom says, did you see the TANLS? What is that? And she says, oh, the tanks. So he's a typo. She said, yeah, there's not tanks, but there's big ass SWAT trucks. And inside the mall, there's SWAT. Do you want to chill now? And he says, I'm driving right now to chill with my cousins. She says, what one? I thought you didn't really talk to them. Question mark, question mark. Why you leave me on red, babe? He says, yeah, the ones. I don't, N-word. The F. And she says, chill. And he says, you say this every time. She says, have fun. He says, you got me in the left lane. She says, you don't have to get mad at me. I'm just talking to you. What the hell does that mean? Left lane? You guys better not put me in the left lane. What does that mean? He says, you got me in the left lane. She says, you don't have to get mad at me. I'm just talking to you. When you're going to be back? Oh, she means like you don't got to be pissed off. Dom says, I don't know. Mackenzie says, okay, period. Babe, what are you doing now? How long ago? So I was on 5:31 at 6:03 p.m. Literally at 6:04. Okay, I thought I was going to say something like, oh, an hour later. Literally 6:04 in the left lane. I'm in the left lane. I got texting and driving. Oh, I thought he meant like I'm mad. Like swerve. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. In the fast lane? Oh my God, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm the crazy one. She says 1 minute later, she says, babe, what are you doing now? And he says, I got my cousins high. And he says, and they way too fried. She says, OMG, how little are they? You said little, cousin. He says, and I can't take them home. She says, LMFAO, OMG, that sucks. Did they puke? He says, only a couple years younger, and no. She says, how many of them are with you? He says, my aunt will be pissed, though. She says, oh, when you said a little, I was thinking 8 to 10 or even younger. Where are you at right now? Why you leave me on red, baby? He says, we in Avon. Oh, and she says, oh, damn. Avon far AF. Are you coming back before 7:30? I might go somewhere with Maddie later. Babe? He says, probably not. She says, really? He says, yeah, the drive is far. She says, if I'm still here when you're back, we chill before I go. I want to see my babe. Smiley. He says, sure, where are you going? She says, I don't know where, but all I know is Maddie, Alex, Gracie, and Farron, I think, is having a little party because Farron graduated, but low-key, I don't want to go because Farron was talking about me. She says, but Maddie wants me to come. He says, it'll probably be lame, but yeah, I'll probably go. She said, if it's gay, I'll just dip, LMAO, and come hang with you. I'm peeling so bad. He says, I'm still 20 away from home. She says, I'm not going yet. I'm still home. When are you going to be home? Babe, she emphasizes it. Answer me, babe. And he says, I'm home. What's up? She says, can I come over? I don't know if I'm even going anymore. He says, go with them. I'm playing b-ball. She says, they haven't hit me up. Can I come, please? Dom says, Trev and Angelo playing. I don't know what he meant by that. And she says, I'll play. And he says, and try. Oh, and Trey. He did typo, and Trey. And she says, can I come hoop, please? I'm bored. I'll leave when they hit me up, though. Please, babe? And he says, no, babe, we chilled yesterday. Just go wait for them. She says, are you sure? I might be over there for like 30 minutes. If they don't hit me up, can I come over? Babe, they still didn't hit me up. She says, don't spam them. That's probably why. I don't get it. Can she not be alone? Oh my gosh. This is insane. He's like, don't spam them. And she's like, I'm not spamming TF, WTF. He says, oh, I thought maybe you were. She says, why the F? Can we chill after you ball? And he says, I thought you were going to the party, so I told Trevor I could come smoke. And she says, you went there yesterday. Please, baby. He says, I know, but I only chill there for like an hour and I chill with you all day. And you have your mom and your dad and everyone. And all Trevor is his grandma pretty much. And after she goes, he doesn't really have anyone, Kenzie. These hour or two I spend with him means a lot, to be honest. She says, okay, babe, that's fine. Just go hang with him. He says, even if I chill with him till 11 and we chill till 2, you still get more time. She says, and when you get home, maybe we can hang. He says, that was around 9:22 p.m. And then he says, sorry, I got mad earlier too. I've been trying not to smoke. She says, it's okay, babe. And she says, she loves a message. And then he sends a blank message. She says, 3 kissy. And she says, you're so cute, babe. Hit me up when you're home. And he says, okay, babe. She says, I might sleep. Can we hang early tomorrow at 10:35? He says, maybe. Depends what I have to do. And she says, okay, you going to be there longer? It's cool if you are. I'm tired, to be honest, though. He says, probably a little, yeah. And she says, if you're coming back soon, I'll come hang. Would you want to? He says, okay. She says, can you scoop? Babe? And how soon? He says, I might leave soon. She says, I probably can't hang after 11:30. Just try to come scoop soon. I'm still tired-ish. He says, I mean, I could, but let's just chill tomorrow. It's super late. She says, okay, babe, let's FaceTime when you're home. And that was on 5:31 at 11:02 p.m. And then the next morning, he sends a picture of something. It looks like shorts. And then there's blank messages. And she says, I don't though. And then there's a blank message. I don't know if they redact that or they're just blank. He says, they caught you. She says, I just won't wear them anymore. Wait, so it's something about shorts. Dom says, they caught you, like yoga shorts. She says, I just won't wear them anymore. He says, only in secret. She says, oh, LMAO. What are you doing up still? Oh, it's 1:15 in the morning. My bad. I thought it was in the, like literally in the morning, like 1:15. I thought it was in the afternoon. He says, watching YouTube with Angelo and Trey. She says, I keep waking up. He says, you want to FaceTime? Can you help me figure out which slides to get? And she says, I was just about to text you that. Yes. FaceTime me. Babe, FaceTime back when charged. And then she sends a screenshot of something on Twitter. More things from Twitter, and then redacted. Oh, yeah, another Twitter link. And then she says, good morning, babe, at 10:48 a.m. She says, teeth thing on the way. He says, bet. She says, you trying to hang early? It's going to be low-key nice today. He said, I was thinking about it. She says, just let me know. My outfit cute. She says, Dom says, I just heard that people who own Town Hall are rapist, I guess. And she said, WTF, question mark. Dom says, and they own other restaurants and they all weirdos. She says, are you for real? And Dom says, they own Harry Buffalo and Barley House. And she says, who is the rapist? Dom says, that's just what I seen. Mackenzie says, what's their names? Dom says, I don't know, look it up. Mackenzie says, of Strongsville. Dom says, look up Town Hall owner rapist. No, Cleveland, Dumbo. And she says, okay, I will. Oh, okay. Wait, is Town Hall where we ate that one day? He says, yeah. She says, OMG, that's effed up. We should write them a bad review or something. The fries were so good though. Dom says, the owner is a rapist. Mackenzie says, OMG, I don't want it under my name though. You do it. And she's sending the review thing. And then she says, order number. And then she says, what's up? Later at 1:11 p.m. He says, what's up? She says, what are you doing now? He says, oh, I'm about to shower. She says, I think there's people protesting in Strongsville today. Not violent. And he says, wild. She says, I'm gonna go see. He says, for sure. She says, hit me up after you shower. He says, okay. Mackenzie says, there's 5 people I've seen so far. They're just holding signs. Dom says, oh. She says, it's not bad, but it could get bad. Dom says, just me and Thomas are going to chill for a little now. Mackenzie says, they're right by the police station too. Scoop me after. And he says, I'll let you know. She says, okay. And then she says, babe, Corona's getting big again. Also, try to scoop me soon, please. Babe, you didn't even leave yet. I just passed your house. He says, I know, I'm getting ready. The F you mean? She says, I thought you left, LOL, but bruh, there was a spray painted cat. Oh, car, she did a typo. And she says, at the protest with 5 people. She says, you're going to be home soon? Dom? She questions it. I thought you were just going to smoke with them. He says, no, we've been trying to get fake IDs. Mackenzie says, oh, are you leaving soon? She says, I'm bored AF. I told you I didn't want to wait all day too. Please come get me soon. He says, we chill in here. She says, what do you mean? That makes no sense. I asked if you're leaving soon. He says, Dom says, he's at my house. Mackenzie says, oh, can I come over then and hang with y'all? Dom says, no. She says, bruh, isn't his girl there too? Dom says, no, it's just me and Thomas and Blair and Martin coming. She says, bruh, you told me we could effing hang. You said you wouldn't make me wait all day. When you tell me you're just going to smoke with him, that makes me think you're going to be with him for like an hour or two. Dom says, I'm sick of hearing your shit. Here we go. Here we go. I'm reading your guys' comments. Damn stalker. I know. She just will not leave him alone. I think the only thing she thinks about is Dom. She doesn't think about anything else. You know what I mean? Hey, Sophie. Like, she doesn't think about anything else. Cree says, I think it means you're going left, like negative. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, Cree. Hey, hello. Hey, Ash. That escalated quickly. Okay. He says, I'm sick of hearing your shit. She says, I'm sick of you telling something, then doing the complete opposite. She says, like, don't effing tell me we can chill early if you're just going to invite all your friends. Dom says, I didn't. She says, it's effing annoying. I was waiting. When we was on FaceTime, ? You did. Like, this shit is annoying. You can just make me wait. Then you tell me you're inviting more people over. Sorry, I have to fix something on the screen. She says, like, you always put your friends before me. He says, whatever, we'll just chill another day. She says, nah, thanks for making me wait all day when you said you weren't going to. Like, I'm so sick of this shit. I'm effing waiting. I was effing waiting because you said you were just going to smoke with them. Dom says, she says, maybe a little nicer. I don't deserve to get this shit done to me. And he says, okay, I will. And she says, also, that quote unquote, it's not the right time to introduce you is BS. He says, okay, whatever, then I won't. It's cool. She says, you won't what? He says, I don't know. She says, how don't you know? I swear to God, you're a different person around your friends. He says, I'm texting you. She says, you told me you wouldn't make me wait all day and you were going to only smoke with Thomas, but then you invited hella people over. I mean, it's cool. I don't care that you're chilling with them. It's just the fact that you didn't tell me. Like, if you told me this morning you were going to chill with your friends all day, I wouldn't have been mad. Like, you got ready with you. Like, I got ready with you on FaceTime. And he says, I didn't know, but okay. She says, you don't have to get defensive. I'm just saying it's really frustrating when you're ready and waiting. Then you just make whole new plans. When they leave, come to Wallace Lake. He says, what are you doing there? She says, canoeing with Maddie. More people might be here. Or we could go out to dinner. He says, I don't know if I'm trying to go canoeing. Maybe go out to dinner. She says, I'm done for dinner when you want to go. And you pick where. I'll eat anywhere. And he says, I don't know. I just got done bawling now. Me and Blair just chilling. She says, me and Maddie are canoeing right now. He says, for sure. When are you going to be done? She says, you pick where and let me know when. Dom says, my mom and dad are making hella food. Corn on the cob and shit. And she says, ooh, I want. He says, I don't know. We might have to do dinner tomorrow. She says, can Maddie come? It's cool if not. He says, and I don't think I'm doing anything. She says, bet, pick where to eat. Is Blair staying for dinner? He says, can we go out to eat tomorrow? She says, yeah, can I come over for dinner tonight? We're probably not going to be here for super long anyways, and Maddie is going somewhere. Babe? She questions it. Text back. He says, yeah, you can come. She says, when are y'all eating? We're still canoeing right now, and I still have to bring Maddie home. Also, is Blair staying for dinner? If so, can Maddie come too? He says, I don't know if Blair's staying that long, to be honest, and I don't know. She says, what time are you eating, Dom? He says, I don't know. They're making food right now, I think. I don't know how long. Mackenzie says, ask your mom what time. He says, why? When are you coming? She says, I'm trying to figure out what time to come, Dom. That's why I'm asking. I'll come at 7. She's so annoying. She's so annoying. Like, why are you inviting your friends? He didn't even invite her over. How sad. He's like, oh, my parents are making dinner. And he was like, you should come over. And like, babe, you should come over. No, he didn't even invite her. Like, what the heck? Hey, Kim. Her lawyer's like, yeah, they did. So she says, I'll come at 7. She emphasizes it. He says, okay. She says, I'll be there in 20, probably. Gotta drop off Maddie. He says, you still up? Oh, wait, that was at 7:04 p.m. And then he says, you still up? At 12:48. And she says, good morning, baby. The next morning at 10. She says, let me come over when you're up. Is my bracelet at your house? He says, I don't know. She says, I lost my bracelet. I don't know if it's here or at your house. It sometimes falls off when I'm sleeping. But do you want to hang like now or at 1? He says, I don't know. Let me see what I got to do. She said, even if you have runs, can I just come with you? I still want to hang when it's really nice. I'll hoop with you when it's hot out. Babe, FaceTime me when you're done. I feel like this shows my butt too much. He says, you wear booty shorts every day. She says, my neighbor got a light blue caddy. Of course, when I go to Target, there's like no shoes that work. She emphasizes it. I'm so annoyed. And he says, that's gay. What? And she says, on my way. See you in like 10. Babe, where you at? He says, I've been picking up money. She says, are you going to come back soon? Question mark. He says, I'm mad AF. Oh, so that was on 6:02 at 2:42 p.m. And then it jumps to 6:03 the next morning. She says, morning, babe. So they must have hung out. And she says, I already want to smoke. She says, why you leave me on red? He said, it wasn't by accident. Ashish called. I got like no sleep, back and forth and asleep. And she says, I hate that. And did Ashish get off probation? He says, he did. Mackenzie says, OMG. Holy shit, that's so good. Dom says, isn't that funny AF? She says, yes, holy shit, now you can get the Jag. Dom says, they just sold it yesterday. And she said, what? He says, yeah, I know, I'm so salty. She said, that's so gay. He says, I know, I'm really mad. She says, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. He says, I don't give an F. I'm mad AF. No, I still don't have AC. He sends screenshots. He says, I'm so mad I just went off. She says, I feel it, babe. I wanted you to go. I just wanted you to be extra safe. He says, I don't give an F. She says, I just got a CBD cart, fruity pebble flavor. The cart isn't even hitting. She says, N-word. Dom says, N-word, where you buy it? Don't buy no CBD shit from nowhere. It's a straight scam. Mackenzie says, glass house. We're on the way back right now. Why is it bad? He says, never mind. I'm too mad. And she says, okay, babe, hit me up when you're home. He says, I'm still here. She says, oh, you didn't leave yet? Hey, babe, what are you doing now? She says, it's getting really hard not to smoke. Babe? Dom says, I just got to Jared's. Mackenzie says, okay, when you're on the way back, can you scoop? Dom says, probably. She says, I'm at the lake with a daycare kid. How far away are you? We should go swimming. She questions it. He says, we can. You can come in. I'm not going to be there yet, though. She says, bet, it's hot as hell. Okay, I'm coming. She says, babe, how far are you? He says, where can we go swimming? I'll be home in like 15 tops, probably. She says, let me ask my mom. Dom says, let's try to find some private spot. She says, okay, bet. And then she says, at 8:18 p.m., she says, come back. He's on the way over there. Realize how Sean is sitting with his girl and still being part of the group. It's not that hard, she said. Bruh, you are so clueless. Dom says, you can be over here. Mackenzie says, you can come the F over here. I don't want to smell cig straight into my effing nose or get bit by bugs. Like, why do you have to make this shit so hard? You can't walk over here? He says, OMG, okay, when you're all alone from the group. She says, sideways face. Oh my God, they're like hanging out with each other and these are the conversations that they're having. No boundaries. This is terrible. She's such a baby. Hey, Ali B. They're literally hanging out and they're not even, this is how they're texting each other this shit. Dom says, you can come over here and stand by me if you want. And she says, like, if you wanted to come by, you would have told me to come by now. Oh, like if you wanted me to come by, you would have told me by now to come. She says, I'm so salty. Bruh. She removes an exclamation. And he says, I did. She says she liked her own message. She says, no, you didn't. And he said, emphasize it. You can come stand by me. And he points an arrow up. She says, I'm so annoyed. Like you talking to everyone but me. That's when we were outside and you got up. He says, you're not talking and being a martyr? I don't know what that means. And she says, first of all, I told you before we came outside, I needed sweatpants and you just didn't get me any. So that pissed me the F off. Then we go outside and you just don't say a word to me for like 5 minutes, then just go talk to everyone. He says, whatever. I don't care. She says, no. You really want me to stop texting you and start talking? He says, I'm not letting you ruin my mood because you're not in a good one. She says, like, don't be an effing DICK. Just say sorry. He emphasizes his own message. And she says, and tell him to come. Okay, I'm going to say something then. You didn't even offer me anything. Sometimes you only think about yourself. Dom, I swear to God, why is it so hard for you to say sorry? He says, I'm sorry. She says, sorry, quote unquote. Yeah, right. He says, sorry, I haven't been talking to you. Don't try and ruin my mood. She says, well, my mood is already ruined and you clearly don't care. And you still didn't offer me a shot. Like, you can ask everyone but me. And Dom says, I didn't. She says, like, nah, when you ask me to come over to you out loud, then I'll accept your apology. He said, I wasn't asking. It's not my shit. They asked me and they said no. She likes her own message. He says, so I asked again. She said, when you asked me to come over to you out loud, then I'll accept your apology. And he says, OMG, you really got the audacity. And she says, is it that hard? The audacity for what, bruh? And he says, I'm mad AF now. I want to hit someone. Whoa. That's what Dom said. He said, I want to hit someone. Hey, Celie. Why is he such an angry person? Like, what is going on? Hold on, let me go to my other screen. It's insane. Sorry, I'm trying to get caught up on the chat. He says, I want to hit someone. You mother effer. I would not be okay with him talking to me like that. That is crazy. Dealing with every day would make me angry too. He's got a lot of anger in his heart. He says, you mother effer. And she says, you only care when it's about you, bruh. You should care how I feel and try to fix it, not get mad. You couldn't even ask me to come over there. Like, question mark. She put like 15 question marks. Now you have to make a fight, she said. And you know I've been stressed. Now I'm mad AF now. You really gonna effing do that? Thanks so much for not making my stress worse. I think she meant for making my stress worse. She says, effing disrespectful. It's also funny how you just let me walk away. Embarrass me 2 times in a row. That's raw. You really don't give an F at all. I don't know why the F I let you do this shit to me. She emphasizes it. If you don't come in here in the next 5 minutes, we're going to have issues. They're literally hanging out at a get together. And this is happening. She must be driving him mad, literally. They are both abusive, crazy. They're just so toxic, so toxic. She says, if you don't come in here in the next 5 minutes, we're going to have issues. This is on 6/4/2020 at 1 a.m, basically. She says, Dom, I swear to God. She removes it. She loves the comment she said about get in here in the next 5 minutes. And she says, okay, we got beef right now. Thanks for making my life a lot harder. When are you going to learn to stop thinking only about yourself? And she loves her own message. When are you going to learn again to stop only to thinking about yourself? If you wake up in the middle of the night, FaceTime me. Also, I'm sorry for today, babe. I hope you get a good night's sleep. Oh, so now she's saying sorry. And she says, you. Maybe she meant I love you. And then the next day at 10:04 a.m., there's messages being sent that I can't see. And he says, sorry, babe. She says, it's okay, babe. If you're not busy today, do you want to go canoeing? Sorry, I slept in a little. So this is on 6/4 at 10:04 a.m. He says, it's colder today and I'm doing some shit. I'll tell you about it later. She says, okay, that's fine. I didn't know it was cold. I got hella anxiety. I've just been laying here for like 5 minutes trying to calm down. He says, just chill and watch some TV or something. She says, I'm good. I'm watching the kids. He says, who, Lana and Gianni? Oh, who, Lana and Gianni? She says, all 3. Look at Insta. He says, I did. She says, text back. I'm about to wash my hair. It's coming tomorrow? He said, bet. Thanks, babe. Oh, something in the mail. And then there's a blank message. And then he said, what food should I pick up? She says, have you had a Penn Station have you had Penn Station recently? He says, sometimes it's ain't as good. You got any other ideas? She says, I don't know. To be honest, some reason the only two places I can think of is Chick-fil-A and Penn Station. You could go get Arby's. Their fries sound good AF. He says, I'm getting Penn Station. She says, that sounds good. I don't know how you spell it, but I got a sty. Like, okay, Mackenzie, you got a sty in your eye? Thanks for telling us. Nobody cares about you washing your hair. It's like every second of the day she's texting. I literally don't think they do anything else. Dom only sells weed. Mackenzie only smokes it. They literally, I mean, when do they even use a toilet? Because they're always texting. Call the ambulance. She says, I don't know how to spell it, but I got a sty. Shit's uncomfortable. He says, where did you get it? She says, on my eye. He says, oh no. She says, yeah, it's gay AF. He says, you can definitely remove it easy. I wouldn't worry about it at all. She says, I'm about to put a tea bag on it so it goes away. She loves it. And he says, oh, I didn't really know it was that easy. She says, that's what my mom said. I don't know. I'm on the trampoline with 8 kids. Well, maybe that's why you got a sty, Mackenzie. He says, LMAO. She says, when you're done with your shit, can you scoop? She sends pictures of shoes. And then she says, look how much these are. He says, really? Angelo has those. She says, bruh, I know. He says, wild. She said, Angelo could sell those for like $2K. Did you see what I said about scooping me after? And he said, after what? She said, after you do all your shit. He says, I'm waiting on my dude. He's 40 minutes away. And Mackenzie says, FaceTime. I for real have my own laundry basket and my mom still effing puts my clothes with other people's shit. So effing annoying. Wait, why is Mackenzie not doing her own laundry? That daycare must have been lit. She even texts while trampolining. Oh my God, she needs teabagged. You guys, what? She can't even do her own laundry. And she says, so effing annoying. And he says, gay Addie. And she says, question mark, question mark. He says, that's gay AF. And she says, I know, I'm so salty right now. When are you going to be free? I'm really bored. He says, my homie just got here. She says, finally, after that scoop, question mark, I'm so annoyed. Like, now I can't find any of my effing shit because it's mixed with everyone else's. He says, then sort it out. What they going to do with it? She says, what? Can you scoop me when you're done with that guy? Question mark, question mark. He says, he's already done. I'm about to go do stuff for a little. She says, what are you going to do? How long do you think it's going to take? Did you mean to leave me on red? Question mark, question mark. And he says, no. And she says, well, are you going to answer? She removes a question mark. She questions that. Oh my gosh. Because you guys know why she does that, right? Like she questions and like, you know how you can do that on the iPhone? Like she keeps doing it because he's not responding. So she's like, oh, if I emphasizes it, it's notifying him. Like literally psychopathy. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. Bet. She doesn't know whose clothes is in the laundry basket. What does her dad wear thongs to? Wait, I was just thinking that too. That's so funny because I'm like, wait, you don't know? Like Mackenzie was small. She was really thin. And like, so I'm like, you really wouldn't know that the extra small would be yours? Like, you don't know what your underwear look like? You just wear people's underwear to alert him again. That's right, Sarah. Without sending another message. You guys, that is, if someone was doing that to me, they would be on block. Okay, so she says, she questions it, question mark, question mark. And he says, I don't know, let me smoke with Shmish and Kyle real quick. And she says, after that, can we hang? I'm really not trying to wait. Does she have anything to do? Like school, family time? Like, does she ever like really sit down by herself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, she says, I'm really not trying to wait. He says, yeah, we can. She says, okay, come scoop when you're done. It's been a while. Okay, so that was, she said, scoop when you're done at 6:04 p.m. And then at 6:27, literally less than 30 minutes, she says, it's been a while. She's 91 pounds. Apparently, her dad wears her thong. I don't know. Don't get mad at me. That's just what she means, I think. Because she's like, I can't tell whose laundries is who. Does your mom, Mackenzie's 91 pounds. Is your mom wearing your thongs, Mackenzie? Like, I just want to know. Okay, I'm sorry. She says, it's been a while. Okay, then she questions it. Thong what? She never mentions homework. I know. She makes friends eventually. Oh, okay. So she questions it. And then he says, bet you can come. She says, okay, I'm about to come. When are you coming back? Babe, wait. So she goes over there. He leaves and she stays and waits for him. These kids lost their future and those parents let it happen. Yeah, her dad is spineless. She says, when are you coming back, babe? He says, I'm about to leave. She says, yay, you want to FaceTime? He says, yeah, give me 5. She says, okay, bet. He says, probably less. She says, FaceTime whenever. And then they're sending messages that we can't read. And then it's the next morning on 6/5 at 9:29. She says, good morning, babe. He says, good morning, babe. She says, how did you sleep? He says, I slept all right. When's that package about to be here? She says, probably when the mail comes today. Both of the things are coming today. Lincoln texting back, I'm scared again, LMAO. He says, bet. And LOL, bet. She says, can I come over in like 30 minutes? He says, yeah, but would you care if I went to Trevor's after the hot plate? She says, that's cool. Aren't we going cliff jumping today? He says, probably. They might bail though. She says, you think? I don't think they will. And he says, they were drinking. They might be tired. She says, I hope they go. He says, what time is the stuff coming? She says, I don't know what time exactly, but it's going to be here today. Probably when the mail comes. He says, it doesn't say what time. She says, it says by 8 p.m., but I'm almost 100% positive that it's coming when the mail comes. It's probably coming around 3 or 4. He says, to my house or yours? She says, yes, yours. Both of them on the way to your house. Babe, can I come through now? And he says, yeah. She says, okay, bet, on my way. There's a surprise when you get back. Okay, so she goes over and hangs out. Then she says, there's a surprise when you get back. He says, yay. She says, come in garage when you're back. How is everything going over there? And he says, good. She says, oh, that's good. Are you bringing one back? And when are you coming back? And she questions it. She says, can you just hurry back? He says, yeah. She says, are you coming back soon? Babe, you said you would only be there for like 30 minutes originally. And it's not even really that hot anymore, so we can't go swimming. Okay. When she gets no response and she dislikes her message. Then she says, what the hell? You told me you would hurry back. It's been like 40 minutes and you're not answering either. I'm for real getting so annoyed. She removes an exclamation and she says, bruh, WTF. I've been waiting here for over an hour. You said like 30 minutes, like WTF. Dom, OMFG. No response. You have been there for 2 effing hours, bruh. I'm for real about to flip. Shake my effing head. I'm hungry AF too. He says, be back in 10. Sorry, it got super confusing. She says, I'm so salty. 2 hours? He says, no, it wasn't. She sends a screenshot. And you said when you come back that you would only be there for 20 minutes only. Like you could have at least told me you were going to be there for 50 minutes. She dislikes it. She says, are you on the way back now? She questions it. And he says, yeah. Here. And he says, STY. I don't know what that means. And she says, K. He says, are you asleep? So that was literally at 7:37 p.m. on 6/5. And then in the middle of the night, he says, are you asleep? She says, yes. Come in here. Dom. I need to pee bad. Who is in the bathroom? She emphasizes it. I have to pee so bad. Dom. Sideways face. She removes it. She emphasizes it. She emphasizes who's in the bathroom. Where are you? She says, okay. Dom, can you come in here? And then she says, morning, babe. So she must have still been over at his house. Then on 6/6, she says, morning, babe, at 10:40 a.m. She says, I love getting woke up by my house being loud as shit. He says, I love that. She says, LOL, how'd you sleep? He says, not that good. Tired AF. She says, I slept pretty good other than getting woke up by people being loud as shit. He says, the I smile ain't here yet. She says, it's going to be here when the mail comes. I checked this morning. He said, for sure. She says, what are you doing today? When are you going to be back from Trevor's, baby? They're going to protest it too. He says, I just got here. She says, okay, babe, do you want to scoop me when you're done? He says, I probably could. She says, okay, have fun, babe. Also, guess what I just found out? And he says, what? She says, I can't eat after 12 the day before my visit. Before my dentist, sorry, not visit. And he says, yeah, 12 a.m. She says, yes. He says, that's not bad. She says, I drink warm milk before bed, though. Oh my gosh. So she really does drink the warm milk. Do you guys remember this at the beginning when I was like, what is she slept in his front yard? Remember the beginning of the text, like on live number 1, she like kept asking for warm milk and we thought it was a secret for something else. Remember? She kept asking for the warm milk and the feet rubs from her dad. Ew, my dad would not give me a foot rub. I'm sorry. Remember when she asked that? Okay, so she's like, I drink warm med before milk. What is she, a baby? Does she need like a baby bottle? Like a little pacifier or something? She says, I drink warm milk before bed though. Yike. My dad hates me. I'm sorry. That's creepy. She says, I need warm milk. And he says, I do the same shit. She said, it helps me sleep. Is that true? Sippy cup, come on. She's a princess. Wait, is that literally true? Like, does milk help you guys sleep? Yes. I never do that. I never drink a baby bottle before I go to sleep. I didn't know that helped. She does. Okay. She says, it helps me sleep. Dom says, drink warm milk at 10. She says, I'm probably going to be at your house. He says, LOL. She says, okay, babe, I'm about to go tan. Hit me up when you're done with that shit. I'm going to slide down like the waterfall. What? I'm going to slide down like the waterfall. He says, okay, babe, I'll pick you up then we do a run or two. Then I shower and we go eat. She says, when are you scooping? That sounds good. He says, I don't know. I'm going to be busy sometime. I'll let you know. She said, question mark. Okay, I'm shaving right now. Why does she keep doing this? Not if you're lactose intolerant. My mom did that for me when I was a little girl. It helps infants. Okay, but she's not an infant. Okay, so she says, I'm shaving right now. Weird. She always tells him that. Like, dude, just, can you not do anything and not, like, why do you have to report everything? No one cares, Mackenzie. And she says, the tea thing delivered. She says, you about to be ready to hang? And he says, still doing some stuff. She says, still at Trevor's? He says, yeah. She says, okay, try to scoop soon. He says, I'm trying. Can I go to Thomas's at 9 though? His mom is not home. She says, probably. I don't really care. We'll talk when you scoop. He says, for show. I'm waiting a sec. Then I'm a be busy again. She says, how much longer are you going to be? He says, I don't know. This shit heating up. She says, I still want to go out to eat tonight. Please hurry, Dom. And he says, I spilled shit like 3 times. Oh, I spilled shit like 3 times. It's effed. She says, OMG, is everything sticky? Can you please try to scoop me soon? I want to have time to go out to eat. Dom. And then he says, here. And so then that was at 5:27 p.m. on 6/6. Then at 6:47, she sends a game. And then another game. And then Dom sends, they're playing like some game on the phone. Oh, it's word hunt. They're sending word hunt stuff back and forth, back and forth. Wait, they're hanging out and playing word hunt right next to each other? Literally sending that back and forth. Okay, and he sends it again. Okay, so then this is the next. So they were playing word hunt for a minute. That was on 6/6 at 6:59. And then she says on 6/6 at 9:57 p.m. Tomorrow, can I move my plants to your house? She says also, it says Morgan was at your house 1 hour ago on Snap. Mad. Oh, map. On Snap map. She questions it. And then he says, maybe in Chris's car. She says, did you see what I said about the plants? And what are y'all doing? My stomach hurts so bad. He says, yeah, I'll talk to you about it. We're just chilling, playing Pong. She says, who's all there? I feel like shit. And he says, I'm sorry, what's wrong? He says, Eric, Ty, all them, it's dope. If I come back, I'll pick you up and cuddle you. Wow. That's like the only freaking time I've heard him be somewhat nice. Thank you. Thank you. I saw someone say Melanie is the OG. She spoiled her diaper, Allie. Sarah did. Thank you, Sarah. She didn't have a car. I don't even think she's allowed to drive, is she? Now he's like, oh, now I want to cuddle you. And that's at 10:19 p.m. Just because he wants some A. He's just trying to get some ass. Every medical problem is somehow Dom's problem. See a doctor. She's only 15. Okay, so he says, I'll come back, pick you up and cuddle you. She says, that sounds fun. Smiley, smiley. I think I just ate too much. It's like effed. She loves his message. And then there's blank message. And she says, I'm trying so hard to make my tongue feel better. He says, just go to sleep. I won't be back. She says, okay, babe, tomorrow morning, let's chill. Oh, so they must have hung out. Yeah, he went over or something. 2:52, 10:52. And then he says, just go to sleep. I won't be back at 10:52. And then she says, okay, babe, tomorrow morning, let's chill. Have fun tonight. He says, probably. She says, okay, yay, I'm probably going to go to bed soon. If you drink, don't get too effed up. He says, I'm cool. She says, okay. He says, I am drinking though. She says, okay, babe, just be careful and have fun. And he says, okay, babe. And then at 6:53 a.m., she says, you're not here. The door is locked. It's cold AF. Question mark, question mark. And then she questions it and she says, I'm sitting outside. Where are you? Dom, I'm getting really annoyed. OMFG. Do you want me to leave, Dom? Why did you tell me to come over if you're not effing here? Now I'm just here sitting on your stairs waiting in the effing cold. This is not cool. I woke my effing dad up to bring me. Dom, I swear to God, this is not funny. WTF, I'm honestly mad AF. You don't effing tell me to come over at 6:40 a.m., then let me sit out in the effing cold for this long. Why are they like going over at 6:40 a.m.? Wow. That's just like too much. She says, I'm so mad. Like my dad said, and mom went back to effing bed, bruh. The F are you? I'm effing pissed. I could be effing sleeping right now. What the F? I'm so mad right now. If you don't come back, we're going to have an issue. Thanks. Just had to climb through the window. Mackenzie, there is such a thing called go home to your parents' house. Shada says she was too young to be in a relationship. If she was my daughter, she would be in military school. Bet. Abuelita says she's a stalker at 6:40 a.m. He don't come home. He spent the night with the girl. Oh my gosh. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, wait, why isn't he home at 6:40 a.m.? He got too drunk. When did he say come over that time? Wasn't he out the night before? Yes, sassy pants. She was stalking him. Okay, so she says, I'm effing mad AF. Thanks, Dom. That was at 8:11. And then at 2:51, she says, how are you feeling, babe? He says, my stomach is effed. So yeah, he got too drunk, you guys. And then she said, sad face. Did you puke? He says, no, I'm trying. She said, you should probably just take a sip of beer or something. Chug water. That helps you puke, by the way. He says, nah, it's just hella air coming up right now. She says, I hate when that happens. Try chugging. He says, no, that'll make it hurt more. She says, if you can't puke, just come out. He says, I'm shitting. She sends blank. She says, okay, are we going to the beach soon? He says, I know I didn't like that either. Wait, she says, are we going to the beach soon at 3:07 p.m.? And then at 8:42, he says, I know I didn't like that either. And then Mackenzie says, she better stop that shit. Where you at? FaceTime if you want and your car windows are open. He says, oh no. He says, text me when you're up. She says, good morning, babe, the next day. He says, good morning. How you feeling right now? She says, worried AF. I'm trying to tell myself it's going to be okay, but I'm scared. Dom says, you'll be fine. They ain't do 10 years of college and medical school for nothing. She says, yeah, true. I just never did anything like this before. I'm going to wear your hoodie so I think of my babe. He says, aw. Yeah, you'll be fine once you fall asleep. You'll wake up like nothing happened. Okay, so she must be getting like a procedure done or going to the doctor or something. He says, probably just be super tired. She says, I hope that's what happens. I'm going soon. She says, you got to come see me after. He says, I will a little later because you'll probably sleep most of the day. She says, okay, babe. Also, I'm on FaceTime with Maddie and she's selling tomorrow, so she doesn't have to. Dom says, yeah, he was talking to me about the weed and then didn't text back. Mackenzie says, LMAO, babe, I made a TikTok, but it's private. I'll show you when I'm with you. He says, LMAO. Okay, bet. She says, I'm so scared right now. He says, are you there? She says, no, I'm going at 12:30. I'm so effing scared. Do you want to FaceTime for a sec? Babe, please answer Insta. She says, I'm about to go to sleep. Thanks for answering. He says, I was driving. I'm sorry. She says, so I'm effing mad. He says, why? How did it go? Are you okay? She says, they didn't effing put me to sleep. He says, why? Were you okay? She says, no. Dom says, what happened? And she says, I'm so effing mad. Dom says, did it hurt? She says, they didn't even put me to sleep. They just numbed my effing mouth. Okay, so what? She went to the dentist? Oh, the dentist. Shauna said the dentist. Them 10 cavities need to be filled. Oh my gosh, I forgot about the 10 cavities. She says, they just numbed my effing mouth. Now, I did smoke for nothing. He says, so did it hurt? She says, they didn't even do it, Dom. He says, you'll get so high though, Aunt Kenzie. She says, they just numbed my effing mouth. He says, and now we can go to Olive Garden. And she says, I'm so effing mad. Can I come over as soon as I'm home? I'm effing pissed. My mom lied. Dom says, I'm sorry, babe. She says, I'm so effing mad. Dom says, don't be mean to me though. She says, now my mouth is numb. I'm not going to be mean to you, babe. He says, it'll only be numb for a little. They would probably numb it anyway if you were asleep. She says, can I come over when I'm home? He says, depends when my dude gets here. She says, please, I'm so pissed. I want to get the F away from my mom. She effing lied. He says, he should be here soon. Mackenzie says, okay, good. I'm going to be home soon. Roll a backwood. I could effing kill someone. Okay, she has issues, clearly. Is she okay? No, she's over there throwing a fit. We see you, Carolyn. Why is she throwing a fit about her mom telling her that they were going to numb her and not put her to sleep? They only put kids that can't sit still for dental work. She says, I could effing kill someone. Let me know when I can come. I need to leave my house ASAP. I didn't smoke for 4 days for effing nothing. Oh, was she going to get her wisdom teeth pulled? She's not normal. She emphasized roll a backwood. He says, it'll be cool. She says, is he going to be there soon? If not, be cool. Dom says, I don't know. I have to wait for him. Then I got a dip. Mackenzie says, now I have to make another appointment. Bruh. And she says, Dom says, did you not get your teeth drilled? Mackenzie says, can you just pick me up then? No, bruh. He says, I have to dip for 30 seconds. Sorry, not sex. Wait, Melly, what's on your mind? The laughing gas. Yeah, that's what I think she wanted. The laughing gas, not the numbness. She says, they just numbed me, then I left. And he said, why? She says, I don't effing know. I'm so mad. Like, they said I was getting put to sleep when I was away. Then while I felt, the whole time I felt every effing shot they put in my gums. Okay, she's mistypoing because she's so mad. She says, every shot they put in my gums. I'm not going back to that R word. I'm going to be home soon. I do not want to see my mom. Can I just walk to your house when I get home? She says, no, you can't. I'm waiting on my dude. She says, rush him. Dom says, I can't. She says, why can't you rush him? I'm so effing mad. He says, because I don't know him. Mackenzie says, I want to get the F away from my mom. Dom says, just go chill for a sec. Mackenzie says, she effing tricked me. I'm not getting my teeth fixed anymore. I didn't smoke for 4 days for nothing. Wasted my effing time. Dom says, why aren't you getting them fixed? She said, because I don't give an F anymore. He says, oh. She says, yeah, and that kid, that one needs to hurry the F up. When are you leaving? Come get me. I'm home. Did he come? Dom says, his dude on the way. Mackenzie says, how far? Dom says, I don't know, like 20 or something, maybe less. She says, can I just come and wait in your room? Dom says, he was supposed to call me back and let me know how far the dude is. Mackenzie says, I'm walking over there when I do come. I'm walking over there when you do come. Walking is going to take a minute. I want to come now. Dom says, you're pressuring me is pissing me off. She says, sideways face. He says, he hasn't been hitting me up good. Mackenzie says, so he didn't come? Dom says, no, not yet. Mackenzie says, bruh, today has been the worst day of the year. Oh my God. She's so dramatic. Hey Kiki, just stopped by to say I love your content. Gotta skip out because I'm on part 9 and can't handle a spoiler. Oh, thank you, Kiki. Thank you for the super chat. Okay. Finish part 9 and then just get caught up. Thank you. Appreciate you. Like literally brat. I know. She's a brat. She's so disgusting. She says, today has been the worst day of the year. Because I went to the dentist and they did what they generally do. They numb people up. Yeah, like 99% of people get numbed up unless you're a child or having a severe or severe procedure done, or you're like allergic to the numbing. Now in prison, there is no dental work. Bad teeth, probably from her eating disorder. Meanwhile, millions are dying during COVID, and she's crying over the fact she has to have a cavity filled. She's probably missing that dental work. Oof. That's tough. He says, well, that's good. She says, how is that good? He says, a lot of people seen way worse days. Wow. Thank you, Dom. Devil's breath. Now we know why Dom was avoiding her. That's very true, Dom. And she says, well, I'm done talking about other people, Dom. I'm talking about how the dentist effed me over, and now I have to sit here on 2 different medicines that I have no clue what they are with a numb ass mouth. I can't even do duck lips. Wait, you guys, she's mad because she can't do. Should I start doing that in all my lives? Oh, I'm actually like, you guys, if I can't do duck lips, I don't know what I'm going to do. Sarah's like, I wish I could talk like this while I was reading the text. That's not it, my friend. Oh my God, not the duck lips. She's like, I can't even do duck lips. He says, just look them up. She says, I can't look them up. They just gave me them. He says, oh, I don't know. You're probably fine. She says, I am not fine at all. He says, but yeah, stop complaining. People seen way worse days. Life is a blessing. Oh, says the one who's always being angry. I just can't. Oh my God. And he says, life is a blessing. And she says, I'm so mad at my mom right now for telling me I'm going to be put to sleep. He says, I don't know. She says, like, she knew I was going to be up and she effing lied. I felt every shot in my mouth. And your homie's taking way too long. And he said, who cares? It's over. She says, what? She questions it. What you typed made 0 sense. As soon as he leaves, can I start walking over? Dom says, who cares? It's over. Mackenzie says, I care because I just wasted my effing day. And I wasted 4 days of not smoking when I could have smoked. Oh no, Mackenzie, you got to get teeth work done, and you couldn't smoke the blunts. Because they go into like, it's bad for when you're gun pockets or something. She's the most popular girl in school. I'm so happy to be 58. I love how they rotate being pissed and angry at the same time. Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, 4 days, chill out. She says, I could have smoked. As soon as he leaves, can I walk over? He says, who cares if he didn't smoke for 4 days? Mackenzie says, I care. And this is on 6/8, by the way. He says, it doesn't matter now. Mackenzie says, I've had the worst anxiety. I smoke to make my anxiety chill. As soon as he leaves, can I walk over? Dom says, I mean, I guess. She says, OMFG. She says, OMFG, W. I think she means W, like what the actual F. And then she questions it. And then she sends a question mark. And he says, I mean, I guess. He says, you're making me so effing mad. She says, why are you getting mad? You're supposed to be there for me. Okay, Mackenzie, chill out. He's going to be there for you when something serious in life happens, not when you go get your 10 cavities filled and they have to numb you, because that's the protocol, honey. Like, she's lucky she can even afford dental, right? She says, why are you getting so mad at me? You're supposed to be there for me. And he said, because you're so unreasonable. And she says, I just got 4 shots in my mouth and my dentist was effed. How am I being unreasonable? This isn't fair to me. And he says, and you're being bitchy. She says, wow. No, I am not. And I'm a little out of it from the weird pill they gave me. You need to chill out and be nicer to me. I just got back from a stressful ass appointment. Dom says, you need to chill out and be nicer to me. She says, I am being nice to you, Dom. He says, you don't know the stress I deal with all the time. And Mackenzie says, it's not even a race to see. It's not a race to see who has the most stress, Dom. Wow. And then she says, I'm just saying. She says, like, today was really effed, and now I have another appointment where I have to get an IV put in my arm, and I can't smoke for 4 days either. He says, OMG. It's not a race. She says, like, half of my face is numb, and I'm kind of out of it. Just chill on me. I'm not trying to be quote unquote bitchy. Yes, I know, Dom. I'm just trying to come over so I can get the F away from my mom that lied. I don't know why you started getting mad at me. That's stressing me out. And Dom says, you don't know what the F is going on, so don't get on my case. Mackenzie says, Dom, I'm not. I'm just trying to come over. ? She says, what is going on? This is really upsetting me. I told you I'm numb and I'm a little out of it. Did that guy come through yet? And Dom says, bruh, stop. And Mackenzie says, stop what? I don't know why you're treating me like this right now. I'm not trying to argue with you. You said I could come over after. You're really stressing me out right now. Please stop being mean. Dom says, stop effing bothering me. Like, what the F? I do so much shit, and if I don't answer your text for 5 minutes, you gotta call me. Like, get the F out of here. Remember what I said about people stressing me and wasting my time? And he says, blocked. She says, WTF? You did not need to say that. That was really mean. I'm allowed to ask if that guy came and left. Dom says, you're worried about your teeth. I'm worried about my future and my freedom. Mackenzie says, why are you still being mean? Just don't be mean. And you told me when I was on the way back we could hang. I don't get what changed. Like, I just want to come see you. Today was really hard for me, and you know that. You're making me so sad. And he says, you're being really rude for no reason. Or no, that's what she said. You're being really rude for no reason. Please don't leave me on red. Wow, you are so effing nice to me for like 4 days. Then you start being mean to me again. Like, this isn't right, Dom. Dom says, don't text me way too much. My dude better be here. Mackenzie says, okay, then don't leave me on red. And I would text you a lot. Then don't leave me on red, and I would text you a lot. And when he leaves, can I walk over? The numbing is spreading. Oh my God, she's so dramatic. Has she never been to the dentist before? I wish this girl would just go to bed early. I know. I thought you were talking to me. I was like, me? Thanks, Carolyn, for being. He gives no shits about her anxiety. Yeah, I know. She says the numbing is spreading. He says it's probably going away soon. That's probably why. She says, I don't know. It moved to my chin. I look slow AF right now. Did your homie dip? He says, yeah, it's probably going away soon. She says, you think? She says, I don't know. I looked it up and it says 1 to 3 hours. He says, yeah, he just came through and I might have to run somewhere real quick. She says, can I just walk over right now and go wherever real quick? He says, maybe, let me see. She says, I don't really care if I'm alone there for like 20. Can I, babe? And he says, sure. She says, okay, I'm walking now. He says, don't talk about earlier. Just forget it. I won't be mad. She says, okay, babe. Babe, ask people. I asked Kristen and Lexi said Devin works. Okay, so wait. So she goes over on 6/8 at 4:37 p.m. And then the next morning she says, babe, I asked Kristen and Lexi said Devin works. Dom said, Damien and Travis invited me to the beach. She said, can I come? That would be fun. He says, I don't know if I'm trying to go to the beach, us four. Mackenzie says, it would probably be pretty fun. We could smoke there or some shit. Did you mean to leave me on red? And he says, I didn't know what to say. She says, so you don't want to go with them? We can go with AJ. Dom says, I said I don't know. She says, do you not want to go swimming? And he says, N-word. Never mind. He's trying to tell her, like, no, I don't want to go with you. Like, So he says, never mind. And she says, I guess we can swim in the lake if you don't want to go far because of the car. Babe, you don't have to get mad. She says, I've been excited about this day for like 4 days. He says, what lake? She says, my lake. We can just slide down the waterfall. But it will only be a little fun, LOL. He says, maybe. She said, also really close beaches are Wallace Lake and Hinckley Lake. Dom says, I don't know if I can swim today because my stomach's still effed up. She says, really? That for real sucks. I wanted to go swimming so bad today. Try to take some Tums and drink a lot of water. He said, it doesn't hurt. It's just messed up. I don't want to have to shit bad all of a sudden when I'm at the lake. Ew. Mackenzie says, that would be so bad. Lake bathroom's gross as hell too. Want to just go to Wallace and bring the canoes, kick it and tan? If you down, just try to shit before. Dom says, I might just try to get some more shit done. She says, oh, so you don't want to go swimming today? Babe, he says, I don't know. Jared's looking for a place to swim. She says, I hope he finds somewhere. I really want to swim today, she said. Dom says, me too. She said, peaches are so good, I'm eating one. If we go swimming, we gotta go soon. It's about to be the peak. Babe? And he says, why would we do that? She says, what do you mean? He says, because then I'd have to drive when it's the most hot. She says, true, but that's when it would be the best time to swim. Did he find a spot? Dom says he did, but the girl's dad is a cop. How much money do we have left in the account? Wait. What? We all need a nap. Kenzie's exhausting. They have an account, like a rug account. He's a shitting kid I've ever seen. Relentless and persistent. Yeah, I know. He says, how much money do we have left in the account? Ah, this is interesting. She says 312. He said, what's wrong with the girl's dad being a cop? I'm down to go. He says, we can't smoke there. She says, oh, that's gay. If anything, we can go in your car to smoke. Dom says, yeah, when it's 90 degrees and her dad is a cop, very smart. She says, true. I mean, we could just smoke before. And Dom says, I don't know. I might have you just do an order for me. It's really long, though. Mackenzie says, I'm at the lake with Roz and Lana. I'll do it, though. Do you want to go to Wallace Lake today, though? And Dom says, I don't know where Roz is. She's, who Roz is? And Mackenzie says, a daycare kid. Want to hang soon? Dom says, oh, yeah, maybe. Let me see what I have to do. She says, okay, let me know. He says, me too. My house freezing and it's way too hot. She says, LMAO, your house is always so cold. Dom says, that AC is fire. And she says, LMAO, I'm tanning. Dom says, you going to get brown AF. She says, I was out for a while. I just went in. Dom says, I think we found someone with the pool. And Mackenzie says, who? Bet. Hannah Sormaz has a pool. I seen her on her story. Don't get mad, please. But to be honest, I'm kind of annoyed because I've been telling you for a couple of days that I want to go swimming on this day. And it's the day and you don't want to go anywhere. Please don't get mad. That's what she said. Dom said, yeah, but you only say, let's go to Wallace Lake. And unless I really want to go, I don't really want to drive in my car. Mackenzie says, yeah, I wish you had a car with AC and Hinckley Lake is close too. I'm saying Wallace because it's close. I just want to get in any water. Dom says, get in your lake. And she says, also, 𝐼𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲 Tyler T-Rex. I don't know what that means. And he says, T-Rex what? And she says, that's a great idea. Let me just go swim alone. He said that when he gets his license soon, that he'll go places with us and his seats and car has AC. Dom says, and Hannah Sormas probably wouldn't let us swim at her pool. Mackenzie says, I think she would. Dom said, oh, Tyler said he would. Tyler is like a little cupcake. Mackenzie says, yeah, he swipes up and said he'd be down to come with us. LOL. That's funny AF. Dom says, for real though, I could just hang with him. He always nice AF. Mackenzie says, right, he's always been the nicest one. Tyler will always be a homie. That's what Mackenzie said. Did Jared find any other pools? Dom says, I don't think so. Mackenzie says, want to just go to Hinckley Lake? It's close. And Dom says, what's there? I don't know what that looks like. Mackenzie says, look it up. There's cliff jumping spot. It looks nice. I've never been there. My mom said it's close, so what do you think about it? And Dom says, I don't see cliff jumping. I see a waterfall. Mackenzie said, Whip Ledges is in the same area as Hinckley Lake. It's a part of it. Dom says, Whips is hella rocks where we could cliff jump. She says, yeah, I think so. Look it up. She says, want to go? Dom says, Whips is hella rocks. Where would we cliff jump? Mackenzie said, you just asked me, and I said, yeah, I think so. I think there's a place, but mostly cliffs and caves. And Dom said, where? Mackenzie said, at Whip Ledges. Dom said, where at Whip Ledges? It's huge. Have you ever been there? Mackenzie says, no, I told you I haven't. LOL. I looked at pic on Google, though. We should go. Dom says, no, we're not going. I'm cool on doing anything. She says, WTF? Why did you just change your mind? That's for real so annoying. Dom says, because you made me mad and you don't know what you're talking about. I feel like these fights just get created because he doesn't want to hang with her. I know, he doesn't want to go swimming. Like, don't you understand? Yeah, pay attention to me. That's what she's saying all the time. He says, because you made me mad and you don't know what you're talking about. She says, I do know what the F I'm talking about, Dom. Shake my effing head. And then Dom says, so I'm not driving to Whips to sweat my ass off on some rocks. She says, there's water there. Then we can swim in. Dom says, I said, where would we cliff jump? Whips is hella rocks. And you said, yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'm cool. And Mackenzie says, if there is no cliff jumping spot, we can go to the lake that's right next to it. This is for real annoying. And Dom says, yeah, I'm annoyed too. Mackenzie says, you're annoyed for no reason. Then she says, I'm just trying to swim on a hot ass day and you're here telling me, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had turned off my computer. She says, I'm just trying to swim on a hot ass day and you're here telling me I don't know what I'm talking about and being rude. Like, if there's no cliff jumping spot, we could easily go to the lake that's 4 seconds away. And if you don't want to drive, my mom can take us, she said. Dom says, nah, I'm cool right now. She says, thanks for making my day. Thanks for making a day that could have been fun, not fun. You need to stop getting so mad so fast. Today would have been so fun. And he says, okay. She says, what the F, Dom? Are you really about to just not do anything with me? He says, we can chill later. She says, but it's not going to be hot anymore. It's really hot right now. I really want to go swimming, but of course, no one wants to effing go. Like, these days, everyone would rather just sit on their ass and be lazy AF than go outside. It's so annoying. And he says, I want to, but I need to figure out something with my anger. Could you imagine Mackenzie's mom and her in a car for hours? No. Said the girl that wanted to kill people because she didn't get put under for cavities. Right, Rain? This is definitely all thrown at his face. Yes. He manipulates it, like the whole being angry and like why do they do that to each other? She's like, I'm for real about to flip out. We're going to have issues. We're going to have a problem. It's such a manipulative, abusive tactic. Like, and then he's like, oh, once my anger gets under control, I need to figure out something with my anger and then I won't be mean to you. Like, go to anger management. Yeah, we absolutely support that. But like, I feel like they do this all the time back and forth to each other. And that's what leads to like bigger issues, and fights and confrontation. So he says, I want to, but I need to figure out something with my anger. This is on 6/9 at 4:28 p.m. She says, that's good. We can just go another day. When we hang today though, do you want me to bring some Dippin' Dots? He says, yes, we can hang soon. She says, LOL, okay, let me know when. I'm tanning. How soon can we hang, babe? He says, I don't know, probably in a little. She says, KK. He says, you want to just chill in an hour? And she says, at 6? That's fine. And he says, okay. And that was at 5:02. And then she says, babe, could you give Leia a, maybe she meant ride. Mackenzie says, she asked me if I know anyone mobile. Dom said, yeah, I can. You can come over now. Bring dip and dots. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. About to be on my way. On my way. And Dom says, do you have dip and dots? How did you get them? Mackenzie says, whose car? Dom says, what? She says, I'm mad AF, by the way. Dom says, I know. Mackenzie says, and you still left? I'm so mad I can't even get effing comfortable. He says, well, I kind of have had to. I can't be waiting on these things. She says, shake my head. I'm sure Trevor, you could have called him and told him what to get too. I'm sure Trevor knows. Dom says, and I don't know what you mean, but I'll just talk to you about it when I'm home. Mackenzie says, aw, you sneaking back over, then leaving again? Dom says, I thought you would be inside. I had to be quick. Wait, he's literally sneaking to his house, his own room. She was there and he snuck in. He thought she was inside sleeping or inside, and she wasn't. What the heck? She says, are you sneaking back over then leaving again? He said, I thought you would be inside. I had to be quick. She says, mm-hmm. He says, and what the F you mean sneaking? I took 𝐼𝐸 to the ATM and ran to the house real quick to grab him a bag. Mackenzie says, then you're leaving? If I'm sitting out here alone for more, then I'm going to flip out. He says, more than a what? She says, more than an hour. I'm already mad AF. It's going to be 8:30 soon. And he says, just left ATM. She says, okay, so are you on the way back? It's 2 minutes till 8:30. He says, we about to do the order. She says, shake my head. I knew it's going to be like 2 hours. So fun. I'm sitting here alone longer than we chilled. He says, it's only been an hour right now, not even. And she says, it was an hour at 8:30. You said you would be back in an hour. Like, rush, shake my head. Thanks. I'm getting tired. She says, I'm so salty right now. And he says, finishing order right now. She says, that's weird how it takes over 20 minutes to do an order. I usually only take 5 to 10 minutes, no matter how big it is. And you don't really need to be there when they finish the order. Thanks for making me wait an hour and a half. Shake my head. And he says, about to dip in a sec. I said, how hour and a half? She said, you said hour, but we can pretend you said that. He said, I said I'd try for an hour, and I really did. I went to my house and with 𝐼𝐸 to the ATM. She says, okay, so that was on 6/9 at 9:18. The next morning, the next day at 2:37, it's the middle of the night, 2:37 a.m. She says, I just got my period. Hit me up when you're awake. And he says, what up at 11:12? And she says, babe, what are you doing today? It's going to be a rainy day. Do you want to hang today? He says, maybe. She says, okay, let me know, babe. What are you doing? Let me come over. And he says, I'm looking for cars right now. She said, still looking at Lexus? He said, Lexus, Lincoln, or Chrysler, probably. She said, how much are those cars? What's the most expensive? After you do that, can I come over? He said, those are all brands. I couldn't tell you how expensive. She says, oh, okay. And she questions it. And he says, maybe. I'm just chilling right now. My back hurt. She says, okay, how's your stomach today? Let me know soon, though. He says, it's a little better. It's making hella noises, but hasn't been hurting. What are you doing right now? Want to FaceTime for a sec? She says, yes, FaceTime me. I'm tanning. And then she says, are you mad? And he says, yeah. She says, okay, hit me up after you do your car shit. I'll talk to you later. And that was at 1:27 p.m. And then she says, literally at 2:48. She says, what are you doing, babe? He says, eating. She says, do you want to do something at 4? Why the question mark, LMAO? And he says, like what? She says, go to Nelson Ledge or a lake or a beach. I'm just trying to get in some water. He says, no. She says, you don't wanna? She said, did I do something wrong or are you still mad? Okay, well, me and Maddie might go to Nelson's lodge or what? Nelson's ledge. Never mind, it's like an hour away. And he says, I know, that's why I get mad. She said, sorry, babe. When you're in a better mood, hit me up if you want to go swimming. She said, bruh, Bianca threw a whole thing of soda at Gracie and soaked her. Dom said, bruh, Gracie got to work her. Mackenzie said, right? She was walking to work too. Pull up to Rocky River if you want. It's on the DL. Dom said, send pic. So she sends a pic. She says, bring backwood. He says, is that Lake Erie? She says, yeah. Water deep AF. Come, it's fun AF and no one's here and hella people smoking weed. Dom said, nah. She says, you don't want to come? He says, I'm not trying to drive. She says, yeah, it's low-key far, but there's like no one here. He says, it's too windy to drive highway with my windows down anyway. He says, Mackenzie said, yeah, true. We got to come here soon though. Maddie got Damien to come. Babe, have him drive you. He said he will. Dom said, yeah, I don't know, maybe. Mackenzie said, text him. He can drive you here. Dom said, is it warm? Mackenzie said, hot AF. Dom said, the water? She says, yeah, water just a bit cold. It feels hot, but it feels hot and feels really good. I was in deep AF. He said, it's deep? What do you mean? And she said, yes, it's really deep. Have Damien take you. Are you coming, baby? He says, I didn't hit him up. Mackenzie says, why? Babe, come on, try. Dom says, I might go hang with Rich Kyle. And then Mackenzie says, you're really not going to come when we have a ride for you? Dom says, did they leave yet? It's going to rain in an hour or two. I wouldn't get there for half hour either. Mackenzie says, hit him up. My mom said the rain is probably going to skip over. If it does rain, there's a spot of shelter. Dom says, I don't want to hit him up. He probably already left. Dom says, I'll probably just go with Kyle. Mackenzie says, he didn't. Text him, babe. Dom says, are you sure? Mackenzie says, yes. Dom says, yeah, I don't know. Mackenzie says, sad face. Please, babe. Dom says, yeah, I don't know. By the time I got there, it wouldn't really be warm anymore. And she said, it's hot AF. Dom says, I don't even think they're going. They hit me up to re-up. I think I'm about to go chill with Rich, Kyle, and Ty. She says, okay, babe, have fun then. Hang later. He says, they ain't going, right? Probably not. And she says, I don't know. Maddie was texting him. Dom says, F Maddie. Oh, here we go. Love Cali Mountains and Ocean. Me too. Here we go. Now Dom is hating on Maddie. He said, F Maddie. And she says, why, babe? He says, I don't fuck with y'all lately. And she says, me? Question mark, what? Question mark, Dom? Question mark. Why the... Oh, shoot. She says, why the F you make me unfollow you? Dom blocked her on Insta. Because when you block someone on Insta, it removes them as your friend. Sorry. Gotta like readjust. She says, why the F you make me unfollow you? You can't just be doing that shit when you're mad. She says, you tell me to hang out with my friends, and when I do shit like that, I did nothing. I even invited you. This shit is not cool. If you're not home, be super careful. There's about to be a really bad storm. Bruh, answer. I'm worried about you. And he says, okay, I'm at 2%. Not 1%, 2%. And then she says, where are you? Please charge it. And she says, and read what I said. She emphasizes it. And he says, not right now. She says, where are you at? Are you with Rich, Kyle? Babe, can you please text me back? Not dry AF. And she likes it. And he says, yeah. She says, hit me up when you're home. And you still reply dry, smiley. You're really upsetting me, but I don't care. Shake my head, Dom. Wow, you're really just going to go on D&D. You're effing rude. I do nothing to you and you act like this. You want me to hang out with my friends, and when I finally do, you have some gay shit like you do some gay shit like this. Honestly, I'm salty AF. You be acting like this for no reason. He says, okay. She says, WTF. You're just gonna say okay, like what the F did I do? She says, you're just going to get mad over some dumbass shit and take it out on me. Like, why do you think that's okay? You couldn't even text me back when I told you I was worried about you. You can go hang with all your friends and be nice to them, but when it comes to me, you just have to be disrespectful AF. How do you think it makes me feel when you're mean AF all day? She questions it, and he says, okay, I'm done. Here we go. He says, she's finally out with friends and told them have a great time. Now he's mad, right? They're both question mark. Hey, G Sarah. Oh yes, you're right. Tomorrow is a full moon. Oh no. So he says, okay, I'm done. And she says, done with what? Done being a DICK for no reason? Like, apologize to me. I did nothing. Oh, are you going home? This is effed up, honestly. She emphasizes it. Then she says, don't take it out on me. I did nothing. If anything, you know I'm going to try to fix you being mad. You've been mad for like 2 days and you've just been taking it out on me, and it does not make me happy. Like, I try to hang, then I get blocked and hated on all day. Dom says, yeah. I didn't block you. She says, yeah, to what? Then what happened on Insta? Why am I not following you? I was following you before. Dom says, it's cool. I'm sorry. She says, are you on the way home? And it's really not cool, and it really upsets me, but I'll forgive you. And of course, you're still on D&D. He says, no, I'll be here for a bit. Dom says, you didn't go to my house, right? And Mackenzie says, wow, nah, now I'm mad AF. He says, how you know I wasn't home? And Mackenzie said, because you told me you're going to hang with 𝐼𝐸𝐴𝐬, bruh. You think I'm going to sit at your house while you're being a DICK to me all day when I finally get to hang with one of my friends? Like, WTF. I do not get it. All you effing care about is what you're doing and how you feel. Like, holy shit. And he says, okay. She says, I love when you are just mean to me all day when I finally hang with one of my friends. Thanks, Dom. She says, you could just make it better, but of course you have to say something like that. The one day when I finally hang with a friend, you have to do this and make me flip out. Dom says, what do you mean? What did I say? Mackenzie says, of course you don't even know what you said. Like, you say sorry, then say another disrespectful ass thing. You don't even care that what you did to me today hurt me. All day I was just trying to be with you, and you get mad and take out your anger on me when I'm trying to see you. And Dom said, okay, I just won't do that. Just leave me alone for a while. Mackenzie says, well, you already did. And I always leave you the F alone when you're with your friends. I do not when you go on D&D, reply dry as F or take 3 hours to answer. Like, if you just answer at a normal time and reply with something more than okay, I won't be annoyed. It's not too much to ask for. It's just how normal people text. And Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, and you do it again. What else do I say? Said Dom. She says, quote unquote, okay, sorry, I'll get off D&D and try to reply faster. It's not that hard, Dom. I just told you, do not reply dry. He says, okay. She replies, quote unquote, reply with something more than okay. He says, that's for shorter. She says, OMG, I'm done with this shit. I swear, you try to hurt me. Go have effing fun with that R word. You're effing rude. I swear, I tell you how you can fix it and you just make it 30 times worse. He says, look, it'll be better soon. She says, actually, that's not how it works. He says, yeah, but I'll talk to you later. Okay, so that was at 9:54 p.m. He says, I'll talk to you later. And then he says, I'm sorry. She says, yeah, okay. You still on D&D probably too. He says, I am done doing things for the night. She said, done what? Being mean to me for no reason? He says, no, doing everything. She said, so you leaving old Kyle's house then? He says, what? No, I don't know. She says, if you're done with everything, are you leaving? And he says, no, he's on the phone right now with all his people. She says, you can't just tell me we done talking, by the way. I'm still going to be hurt. Saying that only makes things worse. He's weird AF. And Dom says, he's doing his work pretty much. Mackenzie said, then why are you there if he's working? I don't like that guy at all. He's sus and weird AF. And I don't know if it's just your attitude today or your being with Kyle's making you mean. And of course, you leave me on red. LMAO, can't catch a break. You just keep doing that shit to make me upset. He says, because I can just chill. She says, question mark, question mark, question mark. I don't know what that means. You can just chill when you're being mean AF to your babe for no reason? That's not good. And you're still on D&D? Holy shit. Like, you say sorry, then just go do the same shit soon. Sorry isn't even going to mean anything. You're making me so effing mad. He says, I don't want to talk on the phone. She says, if you just get off D&D, I won't call you. Like, you make shit so much more hard. Like, I could effing scream right now. I am so effing nice to you, and I put up with you getting mad all the time, and you still be doing this shit. You make me look so dumb when you treat me like this. F that Kyle. I hope he moves away and never comes back. What a effing creep. You can show him this shit too, so he stays the F away. He doesn't respond. And then she says in caps, how many times do I have to tell you I'll chill out when you get off D&D and start answering fast? Is it that effing hard? I swear to God, this shit makes me so mad. I can't believe you think it's okay to take your anger out on me. I don't fuck with y'all lately. The one day I hang with my friend. Dom says, I was eating food. Sorry. She says, you're not even there. Are you effing kidding me? You really lied to me? Dom says, what do you mean? Mackenzie says, where are you? Tell me right now. I know you weren't at Kyle's house. I know you're not there. Dom says, I just went home. I got here like 10 minutes ago. Maybe less. She says, then why didn't he tell me you weren't there? He says, I ate a little food because I wasn't. I left. She says, oh, so you never went to Kyle's house? He says, no, I was there. Then I left. Mackenzie says, then why did Vinny tell me you were never there, Dom? I'm so mad right now. Today effing sucks. The whole day I just have to feel like it was my fault when I did effing nothing. He says, hold up. Really? Mackenzie says, he said you were. Dom says, no, you must have misread it. Mackenzie says, he said you were there. He said he left before you. Dom says, oh, okay. Mackenzie says, I was trying to get that creep's phone number. Dom says, no, done. You should meet him. He's nice. Mackenzie says, yeah, I don't know about that. Let me come over, question mark. He says, no, not tonight. She said, did Kyle come back to cuddle or something? Dom says, yes. Mackenzie says, yeah, I'm not meeting him. If I see him, I'm going to punch the F out of him and FaceTime me. He says, LMAO. No, he's pretty cool. Mackenzie says, well, when you're mean to me the whole time you're there, it makes me think he's the one making you mean. If he's so nice, why was I getting treated so bad by you? And I said, FaceTime me. I'm for real going to flip out. D&D still? Dom says, no, I wasn't. She says, like, for real? Don't effing lie, Dom. You literally told me you don't F with me lately. Like, what the F do you mean? The one day I hang out with a friend, you're not down with me. I can literally go up and say an SS you saying that to me. Oh, screenshot you saying that to me. Nice. Leaving me on red. Are you just trying to make this worse? Like, you're being so dumb. Dom says, I didn't even try to leave you on red. Look, let's just talk tomorrow. It'll be cool. Mackenzie says, it's not cool though. You were pretty much ignoring me all day. Like, it really makes my day stressful, hard. You can't even get off D&D for me or FaceTime me. I'll forgive you when I see a change. It's important that I get treated right, Dom. I don't ask for a lot. I literally let you keep me unadding on Snap. Okay, this whole adding and blocking and all of that, like, they're obviously doing something they don't want the other to see. Like, why else would you keep blocking the partner that you keep arguing with and having this abusive, toxic relationship with? Like, Dom is trying to hide what he's doing or who he's with on Snapchat and Insta. And Mackenzie, like, does the same thing. She goes there to see what he's doing And then he ends up blocking her like every day. How do you unblock and block someone numerous times a day on Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat? Like, she's probably blowing up all the apps. This is insane. She says, you keep unadding me on Snap. He says, no, I wasn't. I was only when I was doing shit. She says, okay, you never told me you were doing shit though. FaceTime me. I don't know why I have to type it 30 times for you to acknowledge that I asked you to FaceTime me. She says, OMFG. I'm for real gonna freak out. This shit makes me want to punch myself in the effing face. If you don't FaceTime me, you don't care. Thanks, Dom. You answer so fast. And he says, I'm talking to Angelo, then I was going to go to bed. Why? It's cool. And she says, you can't FaceTime me before bed. You can't say it's cool because nothing happens to you. I was the one that had to sit there and take you being mean to me all day. Like the one day I hang out with my friend, shit makes me really upset. She questions, you can't FaceTime me. And he says, I will. She says, you will FaceTime me before you go to bed? And he said, yeah. Hang out with your friends more. I won't. Wait. No way. Wait. He's okay. This is too much. This is too much for me. Like, he's just as manipulative and abusive as she is. Like, I'm sorry, you guys. I have this conversation with most of you guys in the comments anyways. This is insane. I'll say you're late. You better. Did you bring my warm milk? You guys, I can't, like, I know. Someone was in my comments and they were like, Melly, you never pay attention to how mean he is. And I'm like, no, he is. Like, I think they're just as bad. They're equal to one another. I know. I'm not victim blaming. I'm not saying like, oh, I wish, like, I'm happy with what she did. That's not it. Like, that's not it a lot. She's a KILLER, a killer. But, I think it's so bad how he makes her rage even more. They like make each other rage. He gets jealous just like she does over everything. Like, he literally was like, go get friends. You guys, we've been reading through all of these. Like, that's why I didn't want to skip any, because I'm like, I want to see all the bullshit. Like, she literally was like, he was like, go get friends. A killer. Well, I mean, she drove the car into the building. He's like, go make friends, like, and then she goes. And then he's like, I'm not going to FaceTime you when you hang out with your friends. And then she says, that shit makes me not want to be with my friends, Like, it makes shit really hard. When you're being mean, that's what all my focus goes to. Then I have a bad day. Like, I don't want you to tell me you're done with me. He says, okay, I won't. She says, when are you going to bed? Do not forget to FaceTime me. She emphasizes it. And he says, I'm going to chill for a sec, brush my teeth, then I'll go to bed. She says, Kay, look at Insta. Can you FaceTime now? Just FaceTime me now. I feel like you're going to wait till I fall asleep. And she emphasizes it. Dom, OMG. I swear to God, I'm so mad. Dom says, I think I found the car I'm going to get in Strongsville too. She says, FaceTime me. You can show me when we're FaceTiming me. What brand car? She emphasizes it. She emphasizes it again. FaceTime me, Dom, OMG. He says, I'm about to in a sec. And that was at 11:49 p.m. And then he says, I thought you would like this used 1990 Jaguar X on Auto Trader. And he sends pictures of cars. He's sending her pictures of cars. Wait, so that was on 6:10 at 11:49 p.m. And then on 6:11, the next morning at 11:24, she says, how long do I leave it in? He says, how soaked is it? She says, FaceTime me, I'll show you. Like, not dripping, but it looks wet. He says, keep it in for an hour probably. You probably don't need that much time. She says, okay, I'll wear it till 12:10. Then do you think you want to hang out 1? When are you going to go check out that Jag? Dom says, dude hasn't answered. She says, okay, I'm really happy for you, by the way. It makes me happy AF seeing you find a car you like so close. Babe, answer ASAP. Are my glasses at your house? I'm about to freak out. She emphasizes it. And do I wash my hair with soap and conditioner? Wait. Oh no, she says, do I wash my hair with soap and conditioner? Yeah. What did you think you washed it with? Dyeing her hair. Oh, babe, answer quickly. That's dyeing her hair. She asked how long. Oh, okay. So she was dyeing her hair. She says, and do I wash my hair with soap and conditioner? I'm in the shower. Answer. Wait, she's in the shower on her phone texting? She's a Do you guys text in the shower? Is your phone waterproof? Mine is not. Which one do I need to get? Because I want to be in there in the shower texting you guys and getting in the chat while I'm in the shower. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to be doing. No. Oh, okay. Asain doesn't. Wow. Asain, you don't want to FaceTime me? Hell no. Ziploc bag. She says, I'm in the shower. Answer. He says, wash it with soap, but only your roots. Wait. She dyed her hair, but she doesn't know how to wash it? Am I like being slow? Like, what the heck? Why is he telling her to wash her roots? So he says, but only your roots. She says, babe, Insta. I might just do the Lil Bo and Lil Perry one. What is she talking about? He says, no, do a different song. That's my song. She says, or pull up Living Life Like a Rock Star. It's in Trap Star. He says, just do a little Skies Are Trippy Red lyric or Tay K. She says, I found a good Tay K one too. Sometimes I'd be so damn high, I don't know what to say. What's one better than the trippy one or Tay K one? Babe, what one? He says, I don't know. I just don't copy the little one, the little boat one. I probably use that one. She says, LMAO, baby, I'm not going to use that one. Trippy or Tay? He says, Trippy, because you can probably find a good one. Are they looking for lyrics to put like in their pictures? You know how like you put like a caption, you do like Drake lyrics or something, but they're doing Trippy Red. My sister would use a Ziploc bag to text during the showers. Oh. Huh. Okay, so I'll be in the shower tonight, talking to you guys in the chat with a Ziploc bag on my phone. He says Trippy Red because you'll probably find a good one. She says pulled up Living Like a Rock Star, the lyrics. Now we're going to be talking in the shower. Why does she think she's a rock star and all these lyrics and stuff? He says, whatever you want, babe. She says, I'm going to find more. Do you want Charlie subs when I leave the mall? He says, yes. She says, okay, bet. I do too. I'm hanging with Lincoln. He says, I know. Mackenzie says, hit me up when you free, baby. He says, okay. And then she says, what are y'all doing? Lincoln has to leave now, so I'm home again. Shake my head, LOL. He says, did you get subs? She says, I'm gonna go back before I come over. He says, oh, you're okay. They're making fish next door, I think. She said, what kind? I never really eat fish that much. Also, you unadded her, right? Wait, unadded who? Let's go. Oh, the tea. He says, yeah. She says, what fish y'all making? Or do you still want Charlie's? Babe, if you don't get in, let me come over, baby. I miss you. He says, okay, babe. She says, when are you going there? You got to tell me if you get in. He says, they're talking about it. I'll let you know. She says, okay. He says, I'm excited for this Jag, the dude answer. She says, no way. What did he say? Bruh, guess what happened? I was literally just sitting there listening to music, and this lady was trying to hide and record me, like WTF. And then she says, that was at 9:34 p.m. And then she says, good night, babe. He says, good night. You know what I realized? I don't think I've hardly ever heard them say I love you to each other. Not that I expect it, but like, also, I don't want to take 90-minute showers. Bag it up, girl. You know what I mean? Like, what did Sassy say? I watch my TV and I have walked up to the screen 3 times so far thinking Melly's mouse is a fruit fly. Oh, oh yeah, the girl you die for. Let me know where you put your shampoo. Okay, so you're funny, Sassy. So then he says, you're still up? And she says, yes. He says, we got to make the mozzarella sticks tomorrow. She says, OMG, yes. He says, I'm checking out that Jack tomorrow around 6. So Dom really makes this much money off selling rugs, eh? He's getting a car. He's like paying for all this stuff. What's Steph not to love? Imagine, I'd rather be single forever than deal with the drama. I was going to say this about that. I love you, but I know he wasn't saying it first and she was waiting. They're only 15 and 8. I know, but for how obsessed and controlling and possessive they are of each other, I thought for sure they would be saying, I love you. Not that I ever want to read it, but I'm surprised there's no explicit text. The relationship is very childish. They are 15 here at the time. Well, she is. Dom is, I think, 18. I think he was 3 years older than her, right? Right? Or am I wrong? Okay, so she says, I'm checking out the Jack tomorrow around 6. And she says, bro, why does no one in my house know how to not let the dogs bark at 8 a.m.? He says, you can't stop them. And she says, I just yelled, shut up. It doesn't work. He says, I think you should take the plants outside. And she said, want me to bring them to your house? My big one's starting to reek. I have them outside right now. I'm scared they're going to fall or break. He says, yeah, we can take them here. She says, okay, I'm going to bring them to your house. I want to keep one though. The smallest one. He says, okay, keep them coming. LOL. She says, LMAFO. I need to get more seeds started. Want to hang today early? And do you think anyone will notice if I wear the same thing I wore yesterday? LMFAO. Wait, so she's growing plants. Weed plants. Mackenzie, no one gives a shit what you're wearing. And so Dom says, if no one seen you, who cares? Right? Who cares? And then he says, and yeah, I'll let you know when we can hang. And she says, LMAO, I was at the mall and Blake and Mar seen me. I'ma just wear it. It was so cute. I want you to see it. She said, Dom says, okay. Topher coming home today. I am not excited. Because Dom had issues with his brother. And then she says, oh God. Well, hopefully he's a little better. Dom says, he's been thinking he's dying lately. I think it's straight bullshit. Mackenzie says, are you for real? Is that why he cries? Dom says he cries for no reason. He honestly do everything for no reason. I think he told Angelo he does that so everyone has to take care of him. Mackenzie says, WTF, well, if they letting him leave, he's probably a little better. Dom says, I don't know if he's being weird or our word. Still, I'm not going to put up with it. Isn't Dom's brother special needs? I feel like, oh no, you're fine. I feel like that's so, both of these kids are from messed up families. Yeah, his brother was special. Dom is mean. Why is he so mean to his brother? Okay, so he says, I'm not going to put up with it. And she says, yes, I agree with you. I just hope it's better than before. Dom says, if he's not acting at this point, he probably just deserves it then if God would do him like that. Wow. Oh, his brother is schizophrenic? Oh, yeah, I remember that. Wait, this is mean. I'm sorry. Listening to him talk about his brother is hard. I agree, Cole. Wow. Wow. See, these are sides of Dom that I think, like, it makes me think that, that night in the night of the morning of the crash, like, it makes me think that something else was going on. I don't know why. Like, I think they were fighting in the car. That's really sad. He says he just deserved it if God's going to do him like that. I think that's trashy for him to say. But anyways, Mackenzie says, yeah, I don't know, babe. She says, what are you doing? FaceTime? This isn't literally at midnight. He says, you want to come over and bring the plants? Oh, it's 12:19. She says, yes, I'll be there in 10. He says, how many you got? She says, 3. I'm bringing 2. I want to keep 1. He says, we need more. She says, I'm working on it. LMFAO. 4 more about to be coming in a couple of weeks. She says, can you scoop? If not, I'll longboard or walk. But I'll have the plants. LOL. Babe, please answer. She questions it. Where are you at? Can I come in there? She questions it. He says, I forgot the Pop-Tart. 1 sec. She says, okay, baby. What's going on? He says, I got the car. She says, what? He says, waiting on him to give me the plates. She says, OMG. Dom says, take his plates. I don't have plates. She says, holy shit. He says, yeah, but we in this bitch. Mackenzie says, is everything good with it? Did you drive it? He says, yes, sir. Scotty drove it. Actually, he said, it's good. I'm about to drive it. Mackenzie said, this is going to be raw. Dom said, I know. She says, we going to boon it? He says, it's going to smell like straight bag. She says, music that doesn't cut out. True. Do you have carpi? What is that? Carpi pizza? My mom asked. Never mind. When are you coming back? Wait, what is that? Do you have carpi pizza? My mom asked. Never mind. When you coming back? She says, I had a weird ass dream. You were in it. Oh, great. Here we go with the dreams. Here we go. You guys ready for the dreams? Mr. Sharilla was growing too. Yeah, they were, abuelita. They were all growing them plants. So she says, I had a weird ass dream. You were in it. It was like Fortnite. I don't know why, she said. And then Dom said something, and the blank message. And she says, you were not on my team, though. I don't remember who was, to be honest. And then she says, my cramps are really bad. He says, I'll be on your team next time. She says, I hope. He says, I'm sorry, babe. Just try to drink water and relax. Cramp is not enough water in the muscles. Just from experience playing basketball, he said. I know. She says, I'll get some lemon water soon. He says, get it right now. Mackenzie says, and when you get that cardboard planters, bring them to me because I need to move the seeds into the dirt soon. And I'm on the potty, babe. Why do they do that? I'm sorry, carpi like a margarita pizza? Oh. Thank you, Rose Gold. Appreciate you. Why is she saying she's on the toilet? Like, I don't want to know that. You know what I mean? You guys better not tell me in the chat when you guys are on the toilet. You talk to me when you say that. She says, I'm on the potty, babe. He says, it's okay. Bartula's being a bitch about it because Trevor's grandma home and Trevor ain't there. He says, I'm trying to go get them. And Mackenzie says, oh. She says, let me check what time they will be there. She says, 12 to 7:30 is when some of the packages are coming. And then she says, bruh, I accidentally left a plant outside all night in an effing rain. He says, is it okay? She said, yeah, it looks fine. I'm just worried. Babe, I need you to answer FaceTime. Nice. You so cute. He says, thanks, baby. Oh, so he answered her FaceTime. And she's like, you're so cute. And then he's like, sorry, my phone died earlier. Okay, so wait, what time was that? At 3:38 p.m. And then he said, sorry, my phone died earlier. She says, it's okay, babe. I'm protesting. It's so fun. There's hella racists. Bruh, I just seen Audrey. I flipped her and her mom off. Dom says, LMAO. Mackenzie says, bruh, I seen him married too. Dom says, where are you? Mackenzie says, I left. I was at town square. Dom says, what is that? She says, it's in front of the police station. Dom said, oh, okay. She says, what are you doing? Do you want to hang soon? Dom says, I probably have to go do some shit. Then yes. She says, okay, babe, tell me when. He says, okay, babe. Then he says, maybe I can pick you up. I'm not going to want to try to get in the driveway. And he says, because I got to run to 𝐤𝐵𝐺's. And she says, that's fine. I'm about to get some snacks. Then let me know when you're trying to scoop. He says, okay. She says, hang soon, babe. Dom, she emphasizes it. And he says, yes, my phone died again. Super busy. She says, how soon? He says, I don't know. Let me get more stuff done real quick. She said, what's going on now? Where are you at? He says, babe, when you're up, hit me up. Okay, wait. So that was on 6/13 at 7:24 p.m. She said, where are you at? Then the next morning, he says, babe, when you're hit me up, we got to get shit done today. She says, I'm up. Hi, babe. He says, hi, babe. Come over. She says, okay, give me 10. I'm replanting seeds. I'm about to come soon. He says, yeah, come before I get up. She says, okay, should I take out the braids? On my way. He says, bet. She says, wait, why does he want her to go over there before he wakes up? Something, I have this, I'm reading your guys' comments. This is such a sad relationship. Yeah, the Black Lives Matter protest. She's disgusting. She says, your mom kicked Morgan out. That was on 6/14 at 8:37 p.m. Then she says, morning, babe, the next day. And she says, I'm wearing your hoodie and it smells like you. He says, aw, cutie. She says, what are you doing today, babe? He says, not sure. She says, I worked out for so long. And he says, LMAO, you only need to for like a half hour. Go finish the book now, babe. And she says, I'm watching a movie. It's a good movie. He says, what movie? She says, it's called The Help. It's so good. Do you want to chill today? He says, maybe, depends what I have to do. She says, I'm out of dabs, babe. He says, okay. She says, what are you doing? He says, chilling with Sheen and then Trevor coming over to do the fencing. She says, oh, I thought me and you were going to do that. He says, do what? Trevor's going to do it. He's supposed to do it. She says, oh, okay. What are you doing right now, baby? You need to text me back more, babe. You low-key been distant today. He says, I was showing Trevor a YouTube video. We can hang later, babe. I've been busy. She said, okay, babe, did you and Trevor get the fence up? He says, yeah. She says, okay, good. He says, need zip ties. She says, is it just you and Trevor? I don't know where to get zip ties. He says, no, Sheen and Bartula. She says, okay, hit me up when they leave. Have fun, babe. And then she says, that was at 6:45 p.m. And then she says, what are you doing? She really has like trust issues. Like, really, she's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you like? She thinks he's cheating on him. Be right back. Uncry me. She really thinks he's like, he's cheating on her or something all the time. She's like, what are you doing? She's like, babe, text back. He said, we're playing basketball. She said, okay. When are they leaving? He says, we're going to play another game. Okay, I have to readjust. Too much TMI. She says, when are they leaving? And he says, we're going to play another game. She says, then they leaving? He says, I don't know. She says, okay, I'll talk to you later. So that was, okay, I'll talk to you later was at 8:16. And then she says at 8:31, I miss you. It hasn't even been 20 minutes. That video was of Miss Rousseau. Oh. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I would be paranoid after the cheating too. So he's up to no good. She says, I miss you. He says, we'll try to chill tonight or tomorrow. Sorry, babe. Angela got so pissed that we won. Mackenzie says, oh God, who was on your team? She says, okay, babe. He says, me, Sheen Bartula versus Angela, Trev, and Trevor. She says, LMFAO, are y'all still chilling? He says, yeah. She says, let's chill early tomorrow. She says, I got some clothes today. Or if I'm up and you're free before 11, we can hang for a little. He says, when you get what you get, send me some pics of you in them. She says, I will in a bit. I don't feel that good because of my period. He says, oh yeah, I might be home by 11. We all went to Trevor's to smoke real quick. Oh, I'm sorry, babe. She says, I hope you're home before 11. I'm going to send you pics soon, though. I got some cute ass shit. He says, okay, bet. She says, okay, babe. And then she says, I sent you pics. There's a little surprise at the end, by the way, she says. What does that mean? Like nudes? Nudes? Thank you, Sarah, for hyping me up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you eat pickles on your burger? What? I do like pickles. I wonder how many dollars of weed these kids smoke per day. Apparently, that's all they do. She says, there's a little surprise at the end, by the way. She says, you're going to be home before 11. He says, probably not. We can probably chill tomorrow. I have to chill with Kyle at one point, though. He says, I don't think you can come. She says, oh, why couldn't I come? And just hit me up early tomorrow, then you can leave and chill with Kyle for however long. And he says, okay. She says, not too long because I want to see you. What are you guys doing? And he says, just chilling. I think I might go home soon. She says, we can hang if you drive me home, LOL. He says, I'm trying to go to bed soon. She says, oh, okay. Then tomorrow early would be fine too. He says, I'll let you know. The next morning, she says, morning, babe. He says, can you look for my other phone? She says, where would it be? She says, I'm looking now. Okay, so he has like another phone because he's a rug dealer, remember? She says, I'm looking now. And he says, then plug it in. She says, where's the last place you had it? Never mind. Babe, it's cool, but you said we could cuddle a while ago. Oh, wait, so that was on 6/16 at 11:23. So the whole day went by. And then the next day on 6/17, she says, babe, it's cool, but you said we could cuddle a while ago. She says, I have to leave at 1. Oh, my OMG, check Insta. And he says, okay. That was at 1:14 in the morning on 6/17. And then she says, morning, babe, at 9:35 a.m. She says, I just found out Phil gave me $600 perfume. Also, I'm going to have 10 to 11 plants in a couple days. So what are we doing about that? And she says, what are you doing today? He liked her message. And he says, I'm about to go get Kyle to get some shit done. She says, okay, if you want to chill, hit me up. Should I take down my hair right now? Why does she always ask him? Like, she always wants to be dressed how Dom feels is acceptable. She always wants to like be okay in what she's wearing, only if Dom is okay with it. She's so skinny. I wouldn't want to see her nude. She's tiny. Rose. Oh, thank you, abuelita. Melly, I miss you already. I'm right here. Okay, so she says, should I take down my hair right now? She emphasizes it, that message. And then she says, what size are you? Swim trunks. She says, okay, we left. Wish you would answer faster. And he says, sorry, I was talking to Kyle. She says, I was going to get you some cute trunks too, but you didn't answer me. And then she sends a picture. She says, whoops. And he says, you should have just got them. She said, what size? I'll go back. Dom, answer. Okay, shake my head. I'm getting medium. And you don't get to pick. He says small. She says, there's only like 2 smalls. He said, what ones? She said, UAT, a movie one, an MTV one. Let me keep looking. And a gray one. Never mind, only the MTV one. Bro, when I'm asking you questions about something I'm buying for you, you got to answer fast. I can't just wait. He says, if I can't answer, then don't buy it. It's cool. She says, look at Insta, babe. And I think she sent a picture of some clothes. And then she says, if you don't like those, I can go to American Eagle, and that's the last place I'm going. He says, those are okay. I'd have to see how they look on me. If you think they're cool, I'll probably like them. She says, I got you some. You're going to love them, I hope. He says, okay. She says, want to meet up with me and Maddie at the beach? Or are you going to be busy all day? Or if you can hang soon, I won't go with her. He says, when I just have to run 2 places. Mackenzie says, soon probably. I'm still at the mall. Dom says, okay, just let me know. She says, okay, Maddie says she might not want to go, but me and you can go. Remember, she doesn't have a job. Remember, she got fired or she quit. I can't remember. But hey, Sarah Beth, where's she getting all the money? It's all the drug money. She literally can't do anything without him. I know. I feel like I can't come on here anymore until I get the okay from you guys. Like, can I wear my hair down? Can I wear my lip gloss? She literally can. Yeah, I know. She's like, they're always at the mall. They're always eating out. Like, that shit gets expensive. You know what I mean? They're always, dabs and weed is expensive. If he's growing it, well, then they're saving the money on that. I don't know if he's making them dabs, though. Maybe she's making commission for growing plants in her room. I mean, are those room plants really giving her that much? I doubt it. She says, okay, Maddie said she might not want to go, but me and you can go. I want to give you this swimsuit. He says, okay. She says, me and you can still go to the beach if you want, though. There's never people there, and it's nice. It's Rocky River Park, and I'm going to be home in 3 minutes. He said, yo, you still at the mall? She says, no, I'm home, babe. He said, damn, I was going to ask for a sub. She says, I'll get you one. He says, how? She says, I can go get Charlie's and come to your house. He says, no, LOL, you're okay. She says, I got to show you something. I want to hang and go to that beach, babe. Do you want to go? And he says, yeah, I could go. She says, when you want to go? Soon, though. Babe, my account is negative $200, Dom. We have to fix that. She emphasizes it. And then she sends pictures of her, I think, bank information, because they redacted that in the text. He says, how? We didn't spend anything. She says, I have no idea. He says, we had enough for sure. She says, I know. That it doesn't say any money is taken out. I know. I'm so confused. Are you at Kyle's? Are you going to be done soon? She sends a Rocky River location. And then he says, I can't find my keys. She says, oh God, how long have you been looking? It's also going to get cold soon, and it's colder by the lake. He says, I finally found them. She says, where were they? So are you going to be ready soon? He says, yeah. She says, okay, I'm ready. Want me to bring you icy? And he says, I'm probably okay. She says, okay. You going to be ready before 5 or like at 10 after? He says, I just got home. She says, can I come over right now? I'll bring the swimsuit. Dom? ? And he says, yeah. She says, okay, on my way. And that was on 6/17 at 5:02 p.m. And then the next day at 2:30, well, it's the next morning at 2:30 in the morning, he sends a picture of another car. And then he's sending multiple pictures of cars. She says, good morning. And he says, good morning, babe. She says, look at Insta, babe. Babe, are we chilling soon? Also, bring the plants in your house. It's going to rain today. He says, sorry, I slept. Yeah, you can come. She says, it's okay. I figured I'm going to come now. On the way. Where you at? If you want to go out there, just tell me. Don't leave me here. Oh, so they're hanging out. And she says, Dom? She sends 10 question marks. And then she says, morning, babe. This is the next morning. And he says, good morning, babe. She said, I slept good last night, to be honest. Hopefully I'm not tired today. But it's not going to rain anymore today, I think. And he says, don't smoke weed or hit the vape till I say you can. What? Thank you, Sarah. Salty, salty, salty. Yeah, he says, don't smoke the weed or hit the vape until I say you can. She said, I'm going to be done vaping and try to hit carts too. And try not to hit carts too. He says, for sure. He says, is your dad at my house? Mackenzie says, LMFAO, I don't know. Probably. They need to take pics of the pool thing. I was supposed to go do it, but I forgot. Dom says, I came home and there's a BMW motorcycle. And he says, LOL. She says, what is he doing? Dom says, I don't know. I didn't see him. She says, oh, LOL. She says, my eyebrows are like amazing right now. He says, I didn't know it was him. I think he was just effing with the heater for the pool. She says, yeah, that's what he needed to do. What are you going to do today? I low-key want to smoke right now. And he says, don't. And I'm going to shower. I might go hang out with Trevor and Barchula at 3. She says, I won't, LOL. And after you kick it with them, hit me up. But tomorrow we're going to one of those places. And he says, what? Loudonville? And she says, yeah. And then she sends TikTok videos. She says, watch this video, WTF. And he says, WTF. She says, I don't know what the F. Did you see the house arrest anklet? He says, I didn't. Mackenzie says, it's unseen there. It's under their sweatpants. You can see the bulk. He says, oh, LMAO. And she says, I'm bored AF. I can't really even tan. Or I'm trying to tan right now. But the sun keep going away. And he says, that's tough. Maybe we can chill for a little. I don't have much to do. And Mackenzie says, well, aren't you going to Trevor's? And I'm down to chill. And he says at like 3. She says, do you want to hang for a little? And she sends an attachment of something. And he says, WTF. She says, right? That shit gross AF. She says, what are you doing? He says, I'm with Blair waiting to go to Trevor's. And she says, I'm tanning. It got hot. I'm excited for tomorrow. He says, canoeing? He says, we should go get food to bring. She says, that's what I'm saying. I can go to the store with my mom. Dom says, I was going to say, we can go. You can go if you want. That'll be easier because you won't eat lunch meat, right? She says, I mean, it depends what kind. Like, I like lunch meat, but not with bread. LMFAO. And she says, just let me know what I should get and me and my mom will go. He says, I'll probably just get my own shit from the deli real quick. She says, okay, I'll go get some snacks right now too. Insta. He says, yeah, get good chips. She says, okay, I will. He said, def the cheesy ruffles. She says, babe, I was already going to get those. Did you see Insta? And he says, yeah, I like those. She says, it fits me pretty good now. It used to be a little loose. He said, you should wear those more. Def will be more comfortable with the jean shorts. She says, yeah, but I'm active AF and I like to sit with my knees up. So it's going to be hard to sit normal, LMFAO, but I'll wear them. He says, oh, true. She says, it's hard to find dresses that fit me. He says, yeah, no knees up. And she says, also make sure the place we're going to is open. I just checked. I think it is. He says, you check. Okay, bet. She says, it says open. You look too, though. He says, okay, I'll look later. Right now, I'm trying to find some food. She says, okay, talk to you later. She says, I'm on the way to the store. Let me know if you want anything specific. He says, beef jerky. She says, LOL, what kind? He says, sweet and hot. And she says, okay, LMFAO, what should I all get? She says, I got chips and jerky so far. I got snacks. He says, bet. She says, what are you doing? He says, at Trevor's. She says, what are y'all doing? He says, just chilling right now. And she says, the thing delivered. How early are we waking up tomorrow? When do I need to be ready? He says, I don't know. Look it up on the internet. She says, it opens at 9 a.m. Set a reminder because we got to go early. He says, okay, what time do we have to be there to do the 10 mile? She says, I don't know. You look. There's only 7.5. He says, really? She says, look at the website. And then, their canoeing adventures website. And she says, Mo Keegan has a longer one. He says, nah, Loudonville. She says, I spell that bad. He said, oh. She says, yeah, you pick whatever one. And Mohican is in Loudonville. She said, what one? He says, Mohican, probably let me check. Let me check. That was on 6/19 at 10:32. Then the next morning, he says, are you up? At 9:20. She says, yes. He says, I'm pretty much ready. She says, me too. Scoop. Bring water and towels. He says, I gotta eat and go to the bathroom. Walk over. Or skate. She says, okay, on my way. He says, okay. Dom says, bring the stuff to put in cooler. Mackenzie says, okay. And then she says, so you might need a ride? I'm about to take another shit. She says, my mom is taking me, and LMFAO, I knew it. He says, can you bring bread too? We only have rye. She says, I'm already here. I'll have my mom bring it. Dom said, well, you didn't open the text, but it's cool. We can pick it up. Mackenzie says, I'm getting some now. It's like half a loaf. He says, that's not enough. She said, okay, good. He says, look for Mazda keys. She says, okay. And that was at 10:40 a.m. And then at 8:32, he says, hey, babe. She says, I'm scared. He says, we'll be fine. Just a little ticket. Oh, so they went canoeing. And then something happened because he ends up texting her at 8:32. He says, hey, babe. And she says, I'm scared. And then he says, we'll be fine. Just a little ticket. She says, I'll say it's mine. He says, I just hope we can drive home together. Wait. Oh, they're pulled over and she's texting him? That's kind of what I'm getting. She says, I'll say it's mine. He says, I hope we can just drive home together. He says, no, for me, it's just a ticket. You still got other, he said. Mackenzie says, me too. The other what? Dom says, you know. She says, the weed? He says, yeah. She says, I might though. He says, what? Wait. Oh, she says, in my thong. She's putting the weed in her thong, you guys. In her thong. Yes, her underwear. I'm sorry. I can't deal with these people. I cannot imagine this life, Sarah. They got caught with weed. Yeah, and she put it in her thong. That's what she said. I didn't just make it up. She said it's in her thong. Oh no. She says it's in her thong. Smart girl, they don't want to go there. They in the game deep. Sarah's like, it's just water. It'll be fine in her butt crack. Hey, Patrona, it's good to see you, love. She just said 2 days ago she was on her period. Yuck. Okay, so she says, I'm in my thong. And he says, what? She says, thong. She says, I'm having a panic attack. He says, oh yeah, keep it there. We'll be out soon. She says, okay. Mackenzie said, they're saying they can pat me down. Dom said, tell them no and record. That's harassment. She says, okay, that was at 8:43 p.m. He says, that's harassment. She says, are you okay? And I said that. I'm texting gay Kyle. He texted me. The cops getting shit. Babe, what did they find? They threw shit everywhere. I can't find my glasses. He says, I don't know. They're probably somewhere. She says, what is going on with you? Dom says, he's just doing paperwork. Mackenzie says, what is happening to you, bruh? He says, did you find your glasses? She says, yes, they were under your seat in the back seat. Your glasses were on the floor too. They ripped one of your papers too, but I cleaned it. Are you coming back? He says, I'm trying. She says, what is going on? He says, were my glasses out of my case? She said, no. He says, okay, bet. She says, what is happening right now? Dom says, he's still doing paperwork. And she said, okay, so what are you getting a ticket for? Like, what is happening? Dom said, speeding and weed probably. Can you check if the battery for the car is still there? Mackenzie said, I did as soon as I got back. It is, babe. So that was at 9:10. The next morning, she says, good morning. He says, good morning back, babe. She says, I slept so good. He says, LMAO. She said, how did you sleep? And also, I'm going to need to move your plants to your house soon. What are you doing, babe? 5 question marks. And he says, I'm really busy at Trevor's. I'll send video. She said, okay, I'm about to go eat with my fam. He says, okay, don't text about anything. And I mean anything. She says, I know, babe. He says, well, sometimes you do. She says, okay, my bad, LMFAO. Good luck, babe. He says, what are you doing? And she says, I'm at Outback waiting for food. He says, I don't got any money on me. Can you order me food? She says, LMAO, I could probably get you something and just bring it to you when I leave. You got to tell me what you want. He says, no, I'm like starving, busting my ass, and I was going to go to the deli, but I have no cash on me. Like, DoorDash me something real quick. I put money on your card. She says, what do you want? And you want it to Trevor's? He says, Charlie subs. Why doesn't he just order it? She says, okay, let me see if I can. Wait, okay, this is making sense. I'm wondering, remember the bank account thing? Like, I'm wondering if, remember he was like, our bank account? Dude, this relationship is 50 shades of fucked up. Carrie, yes. The drug dealer who's never have cash on him. This is what I was going into. So that bank account, was it under Mackenzie's name because he doesn't want it to be tied to him because he's a drug dealer? Wait, he sent her money to DoorDash him? Yeah. So it seems like he doesn't use DoorDash or something, or like his card. I don't smoke weed, but I don't know how people smoke and drive. That sounds like a horrifying idea. I don't know, because that's weird. Why would he be like, I'll send you money? But wait, he sent her money on the card. So clearly he has a card and uses the apps. So never mind, that wouldn't make sense. I don't know why he had her DoorDash him. She says, okay, let me see if I can. What's Trevor's Addy? And he sends it, and he sends address. And she says, okay, thanks. He said, you should have enough on your account. She sends a screenshot of the bank account info because it's redacted. She says, I have 31. Is that good? He says, just get me 1 sub, medium or large. Yeah. She says, okay, I got you. He says, just make sure no weird shit on it. She says, I'll let you know when it's there. He says, okay, bet. She says, give code. I used your number for text. You will know when it's there. Okay, babe? And he says, okay. I didn't get text yet. She says, oh God, okay. It's going to be there in 15 minutes. He says, bet. Oh, I just got a text. She said, okay, good. He says, you put the right Addy? She said, yeah. And she sends a picture of the Addy. And then she says, on my way home, you get the food? He says, yeah. They put lettuce on it. She says, okay, how is it? He says, it was pretty good though. She says, and what the F? I put no lettuce. He says, actually, it was It wasn't bad. And she says, okay, I rate 4 stars. He said, but it wasn't Charlie subs level. For sure. And then she says, how's it going over there? And he says, bad now, really good. I'll tell you later. Bad now, really good. I'll tell you later. She says, okay, babe, you still there? He says, yeah, we'll be there for a bit. And a little bit. And he says, okay, babe, hit me up when you're home. He says, okay. She says, please answer. 3 seconds. Is this the same day? Yeah. So she says, please answer. 3 seconds. He says, why? I'm at Trevor's. She says, I want to show you something. It's really cool. You're going to be happy. Please, babe. He says, can I do it in a little? I'm in the middle of something right now. She says, I mean, it will only be 3 seconds. Are you still busy? He says, yeah, I've been sitting here all day, to be honest. She says, so you weren't busy? He says, question mark, question mark, question mark. No, I've been sitting here all day busy AF. My back hurts. I haven't left my chair or Trevor's house. She says, okay, I thought you meant all day. I was like, WTF. He says, or went to the bathroom. Wait, why is he just sitting in a chair? He says, I haven't left my chair. Or is he just selling weed from the chair? Not the weed, like the weed god on the chair. What does he mean by that? I'm curious. She says, I thought you meant all day. And she says, or went to the bathroom. She says, I'll give you a massage, babe. Also, me and the neighbors across the lake got hella beef right now. He says, LOL, why, babe? Mackenzie says, first the recording, now they put hella branches in the only pathway, so I had to climb over them. Like they had so much room to put the sticks and they threw them away in the walkway. Want to hang? He says, I'm still busy. She says, really? I just got bit by my hamster. She says, what are you doing? He says, still busy. She says, sideways face. And he says, I'm about to be done. She says, well, now it's way too late to hang. It's 10:21 p.m. He says, well, I'm sorry, babe. I didn't have time to do anything today. I made no money and didn't smoke any blunts and barely ate. Actually, I smoked a roach. LOL. She says, you probably got hella done, so it's okay. She says, FaceTime me. Dom. She says, babe, I'm sorry. I didn't know how I didn't see this. I was really busy. Call me in the morning. Okay, so he's saying call me in the morning, and it's literally the next morning, 6:39. She says, I slept so effing bad, like F my bed. He says, LOL. Good morning, babe. And she says, what are you doing? I woke up so mad, then I fell back asleep. Do you want to hang today? He says, at the dentist. And she said, oh shit, for what? And he said, checkup. She says, okay, you going to be home soon? And is your mouth good? LMAO. He says, yeah, but I have to leave to finish. She says, what do you mean? He says, I'll tell you later. Let me do some things. I'll bring you with me when I'm done. She says, yay. She says, I'm wearing a surprise. Holy shit. I forgot to tell you I have to stop smoking for 3 days tomorrow. He says, that's tough. She says, I'm going to get my teeth fixed in 4 days. He says, at least your teeth will be good. She sends a screenshot of a message. He says, a 14-year-old? She says, yeah, LMFAO. What if it was Kyle? Dom says, like a dude or a girl? She says, I don't know. He said, to be honest, it probably was. He says, he don't look that old, though. He looked like 25. Mackenzie says, I don't know. He looks in 20s. I don't know how old are they talking. Dom says, do they mean older, like 50 plus? I don't know. I almost want to show him. Mackenzie says, I'll ask my mom. LOL, do it. Dom says, nah, LMAO, not yet at least. Mackenzie says, 14-year-old riding a bike. The guy was 20. Dom says, to be honest, I mean, he does chill with Lewis a lot. Who? And Mackenzie said he said he was looking for friends. Oh, so I'm wondering if they saw someone suspicious. She said, the guy in the white Tesla. Dom says it was deaf him. Why does he like to chill with kids? Mackenzie says, OMFG, that's weird AF. I hope it's not. Dom says, it's weird though, because he's cool with Brody and cool with Lewis and all the freshmen. I don't know why he'd be trying to find friends. Mackenzie says, it was in Sheffield Lake. I think it's weird too. The guy has Strongsville plates. Dom says, where is Sheffield? She says, it's by the lake. So I don't know if it was him, but if it was Kyle, I'm gonna be dead. He says, yeah, that's a weird area. The plate's registered to Strongsville though. You should see if you can get a plate number. Mackenzie says, that's what I'm saying. He says, and I'll check if it's his. Mackenzie says, here's a Facebook post. It's not sending. Hold on. She sends a Facebook post. And then Dom says, Kyle is 30. Get plates. Mackenzie says, oh shit, really? Dom says, what did he look like? Mackenzie said, that's all the post was. Bruh. And then Dom says, you should have your mom ask then. She says, okay, I will. Dom says, because yeah, I mean, if Kyle is a weirdo, I won't really care as long as I know. Wait. A weirdo like what? Hanging out with younger people? So they don't watch him because he's dealing drugs and he got pulled over. So now the cops are going to watch him. Hey, Kaylee. She says, that's weird, yet no signals went off when she was selling herself to grown men. Mandy says, ahem. Dom, you're dating a kid. Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh no, my shoe got stuck. Okay. She says, so he says, because yeah, I mean, if Kyle is a weirdo, I wouldn't really care as long as I know. Well, Dom, that's concerning because we don't like PDF files. Not that anyone is, but what does he mean by weirdo? Does he mean just like hanging out with younger kids or like, you know, being a creepy weirdo? Anyways, so Dom says, and he gives me good advice. Mackenzie says, bruh, I will not be around him if he did that. That's so weird. I hope it's not him. Dom says, Kyle is 30. I wonder how old Bradbury is. Mackenzie says, bruh, in caps. She says, freaking out. Dom says, I don't think he would be driving Carl's car, but if I can, I will. Mackenzie says, that is so weird. Dom says, yeah, see if you can get plate numbers. Mackenzie said, my mom is trying. When you leave the dentist, FaceTime me. Dom says, I don't think it's Kyle. Mackenzie says, good. Why do you say that? Dom says, because he doesn't live in Strongsville. How would his plates be here? Mackenzie says, he just got his Tesla here, though, and he lives in Strongsville. Dom says, that's an Airbnb. Mackenzie says, oh, true. What are you doing now, babe? And he says, busy. She says, when are you getting me? I thought it was going to be soon. Babe, you haven't texted me in over an hour. She emphasizes it. Dom says, that's because I'm busy. She said, well, you said you would bring me. Like, I thought you were going to get me after that one thing you said you had to do. Like, this is my last day smoking. I'm not trying to sit home all day. He says, yeah, I don't know. I've been busy AF all day. Dom says, I don't know why you question me so much. Mackenzie says, I was just confused. Why are you ignoring me? Because you said you would pick me up after whatever you were doing, but it's been a while. When are you going to be able to pick me up? Dom says, now, because I'm finally done. She says, okay, yay, I look really cute. We don't care if you look really cute. Natalie isn't even a cool mom. She's a bitchin' mom. No, Natalie is not cool. After I saw her at that trial, at the court hearing, I was like, yuck. Natalie Sharilla reminds me of the mom from Unknown Number. You guys, please check out my live I did on Unknown Number, please. And also catch up on Alexi Treviso. Thank you. She says, yay, I look really cute. I'm ready. And he says, okay. She says, are you on the way right now? He says, yeah. She says, how far? He says, I'm here. She says, KK. And then the next morning at 6:29 a.m., she says, guess what happened again? My room hot AF and my head pounding. Dom says, I'm up too, but I can't see. Mackenzie said, I'm so mad right now. And why? Why can't you see, baby? He says, my eyes aren't working. Well, it's called open your eyes, like open when you, thank you, Sarah, says Melly, you covered that wonderfully. It is so wild. How the hell is these guys driving these kind of cars and be selling weed? I know. Both the Sharilla pants are super weird. Tell Steve Sharilla to stay the hell away from me. Natalie's always wearing green shirts. They're probably always smoking blunts too, allegedly. Okay, so he said, my eyes aren't working. She says, just get off your phone until your eyes are better. Oh my God, my room is so effing hot. He says, I haven't even been on my phone. She says, oh. She says, I don't feel good at all right now. I'm a puke or something. My head is hurting. He says, go puke. He says, I had to take a bad shit. What the hell is wrong with him? Can he go to the doctor? Oh my God, like, say email. He's probably watching this right now. Not Steve Sharilla. Did Steve Sharilla enter the chat? That's funny. Okay, he's gross. He said I had to take a bad shit. Barely made it. What? Wait, Dom said he barely made it to the toilet. Mallory's like they're talking about me. I'm sorry. Natalie says, yeah, I saw that. Okay, so she says, Dom says, barely made it. Mackenzie says, if you felt my room right now, you would flip out. And my mom is being so effing annoying too. Like, I'm telling her it's hot AF. And he's like, don't take it on me. Don't take it out on me. Like, I'm not telling you it's too effing hot in my room. Dom says, then go turn on the air or open the window. It's nice right now. Mackenzie says, I'm in the bathroom about to puke, Dom. He says, okay, well, the hot air doesn't affect you right now. So the hot air doesn't affect you right now. So after you're done puking, change the air. Mackenzie says, I hate my house so much. He says, motivation. She says, I think I'm sick. He says, I hope not. She says, so you probably could be sick too. I'll let you know. He says, remember Chris threw up too? Maybe it was a steak because I woke up and my stomach hurt. But then I just took a shit. She says, my head is effed up. I feel really weird. I just took meds. He says, what meds? She said, aspirin or ibuprofen. He says, try to go to the bathroom or puke, then go back to sleep. She says, I can't puke. I tried. He says, eat something. She says, I'm just laying down now. He says, because the pill will hurt your tummy with no food. She says, OMG, I feel so bad. I hate how I feel right now. I can't eat right now. He says, that's what you think till you eat. And she says, I couldn't even really take the pill. He says, just eat a little bit of fruit. How are you feeling now? She says, want to hang? Oh, wait. She went from like, I don't feel good. And now she's like, want to hang? At 11:18, I feel better. Oh, okay. She feels better, everyone. She feels better. Wait. Joe, please, Joe, take a chill pill. Pumpkin. Their jail calls are so messed up. I know. We can't talk on here. She says, I feel better. He says, nice. She says, question mark. And then she sends a TikTok video. It looks like of herself, but I can't tell because it's so small. She says, watch that shit. And when can I bring plants over? He says, I'll probably pick you up. She says, when, babe? And did you watch? He says, yeah, I did. She says, isn't that effed up? She said, Dom says, yeah, I don't know. That's what they were going to do when the corona happened. Mackenzie says, I don't want that shit to happen. Can you get me now? Can you get me soon or now? He says, no. She says, when can you? He says, I have to do two things, then I can. But I might go check out a car. Wait, what? Didn't he just get the caddy? How does he have all this money for cars? Like, day. He says, I'm going to have to go check out another car. He says, which should take a while. She says, okay, bet. And oh shit, what car? If you go look at cars, could I come? It's cool if not, but I'm just trying to hang. And he says, no, sorry. She says, it's cool, babe. He says, can you help me find new underwear? She says, yeah, LMFAO, send websites. He says, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. She says, Polo or American Eagle? He says, yeah, those are Abercrombie. She says, okay, I'll find some after I spray paint. Are you busy right now? Do you want to come paint with me? He says, I can't. I'll come pick you up later. She says, you want to drop something to one of my friends? He says, what and who? She says, Cart to Jaden. I think he's gay. He just moved to Florida and he's back for a couple weeks. Dom says, Jaden who? She says, never mind. AJ did it. Mackenzie says, the cop just shot the goose. Dom says, okay, bet. I feel bad for the little goose. Dom says, yeah, that's sad. Mackenzie says, it was effed up. Dom says, what happened to him and what did the cop shoot him with? She said, it was like flipped over and I think its neck was broken. The lady I met there tried to pick it up and just couldn't hold its neck up and it was just laying there on its back, moving its feet. Dom says, that's sad. She says, I know, right? When are you going to be done? He says, I'm on the way to check out the car. She says, oh, how far is it? He says, I'm in the straight hood right now on Lorraine Road. We got off on Denison. And she says, WTF? Is that where the car is? Be careful. I just made a TikTok. Let me come over when you're home. He says, okay, my phone died. Sorry. She says, it's okay, babe. I figured. He says, want me to come too? We can move the babies. She says, yes, I got to show you some funny shit. Are you coming now? He says, yeah, I'll come soon. Give me a sec. She says, okay, I'm ready. She says, come, babe. And she emphasizes it. And she says, we're going to hell. He says, what did you do? She says, LMAO, I mean the place. He says, I know, I was kidding. She says, oh. She says, I got you something. He said, what did you get? And she says, it's a surprise. Dom says, okay, what are you doing now? She says, I'm coming back. She says, I'm coming back soon. We dropping everyone off. I had hella fun. Morgan, Lexi, and Kristen. So she must have done something with her friends. Next morning, she says, morning, babe. When you're up, you should let me come over. He says, let me get stuff done. This is June 24th, 10:29 a.m. She says, I'm at Abercrombie. I got you something. He says, what is it? She says, the underwear, but I'm not going to show you till I come hang. He says, okay, bet. When are you coming? She says, whenever. When are you home? She says, LOL. He says, I got to do stuff, then I'll be home. She says, want to go to hell? And he says, when? She says, like Devin, Lexi, me, and you, and some more people. I don't know. He says, I don't know. The jag is leaking coolant. She said, WTF, what's that? He says, oh, yeah, can they drive? I don't know. He says, Dom says, can they drive? It was, I don't know if it is anymore. Mackenzie says, Devin is down to go if you go and we can all match. I just won't smoke. We're going soon. He says, I got to stop at Xavier's. She says, go right now so we can get there. We're going at 5. Or just go to him after. He says, how long will we be? She says, I don't know, however long, but you can probably go after. We going at 5, so you need to scoop at 5. Are you on the way, babe? And he says, I'm on the way home. She says, okay, good. We're all ready to go. He says, I'm about to be there. She says, okay, bet. She said, so is Lexi. He says, I'm here. Does Lexi have a car charger? That was on 6/24. And then on 6/25, she says, hey, babe, get a CP season pass so we can go the 9th and the 10th. He says, okay. She says, also, we found cabins. It's Cedar Point cabins. Would you want to hang or do you want to do shit before? He says, I have stuff to do. She says, okay, babe, hit me up after. Then she says, what are you doing, babe? Do you want to hang out now? If you're going to decline my call, then text me back. He says, I'm looking at cars. She says, oh, all right. Do you want to hang soon, though? He says, probably not. She says, oh, I'm going to the dentist tomorrow, though. Are you going to come cuddle me after my appointment? Who needs to cuddle after a dentist appointment? You guys better not tell me you guys do. Dom also worked on cars and he had his own music studio. Oh, you mean that's where he was getting the shmoney from? Okay, so she says, are you going to come cuddle me after my appointment? He says, I don't know. I didn't get shit done today because of Trevor and my car. She says, oh, that's cool. I forgot about that. Also, I forgot to tell you, but we can't find any cabins, so we're going to get a huge tent and go to Nelson's. Then he says, I thought we found some. I don't know, Nelson's doesn't sound like the move. She says, really? We were going to get a big-ass tent with like 4 rooms. Lexi's going to make a group chat with everyone that's going. I'll try to find a cabin. We all looked for hours and didn't find any. He said, it's whatever. She sends pictures of tents from Walmart. And then she says, we all have to chip in 30 for that and camp at Nelson's. It's 50. You can't call right now? Sad face. He says, I'm about to be home. She says, you want to hang? I might go whip around on the mini bike, she said. Dom says, maybe. I've been really busy. I haven't even showered. Mackenzie says, what if you do? I'm going to ride the mini bike to your house. Dom says, no, you won't, LMAO. She says, no, not right now, but if you want to hang, yes, I will. I'll bring over the boxers I got you too. He says, LMAO, that'd be funny AF. She says, you want to hang soon? He says, maybe me, Angelo, and Ryan and Smeesh might hoop. I need food, but can't drive anywhere. Might just take the Mazda. She says, okay. I can just deliver the underwear, then leave, LMFAO. Maybe kick it for a little bit, then leave because I'm hanging with Morgan and them. You guys can just hoop. I just really want you to see me on the bike. You can come if you want, by the way. And he says, to where? He says, I'm not even showered. Probably not. Mackenzie says, I don't know yet. The hill or somewhere. She says, I'll let you know when. He says, okay, well, I can't drive my car anyway, so you guys can probably just go. Mackenzie says, we should scoop, babe. If we end up at Kyle's, you should come. I just seen a raw-ass old caddy. He says, okay, because I don't know if Ashish will be here soon enough to ball. Mackenzie says, let me know what he does, because if he doesn't, you can come hang with us. It'll be fun. Dom says he won't be here till like 8:30 at least. So I'll probably shower and hang with you guys. She says, yay, bet. He says, I don't know if I should wash my hair or not. Oh my gosh. Here we go with the hair washing. You know how this is, you guys. You know how this is. Okay, so now they're going to fight about washing his hair. So he says, I don't know if I should wash my hair or not. She says, well, you had buildup. What? His hair was that dirty? Don't wash your hair. She says, well, you had buildup. He says, when? I'm going to just do it tomorrow. She said, Mackenzie says, you said your head was itchy. You showering? He says, just got out. She says, you want us to scoop? He says, let me eat dinner. Where are y'all going? She says, a hill or an abandoned place. He says, don't go to an abandoned place, just you guys. She says, we know. He says, for real though, you'll get shot. She says, babe, I know. That's why we're waiting for you. You going to be ready soon? Kyle and Kristen meeting up with us. He says, I can drive the Jag. Where are y'all going? He says, Mackenzie says, we can scoop, babe. Hill. That one hill. We might just go somewhere after. We can scoop right now though. Dom says, scoop and go where after? I'll just take the Jag. It's way too sexy. She emphasizes her message and then says, babe, answer please. LMAO. Okay, go. Go now. And bring 4 grams for Devin. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, we getting money from Devin, then we going. Kristen and Kyle gonna be there. We on the way. Bring me a hoodie, babe. Dom says, what you smoking? Mackenzie says, bong. Morgan's bong. He says, oh, okay. Mackenzie says, are you on the way? Dom says, I can't find my woods. Mackenzie says, you don't need to bring a wood. We have a bong, babe. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, we're going to be there in 5. She says, we here. Dom says, I'm on the way. She says, okay, bet. Mackenzie says, they're taking so long. Shake my head. Where you at right now? Bruh. Answer and effing Devin took so long. He was just talking to this kid and making us wait. And then she sends a screenshot of something. He says, that's gay. She says, no, I'm mad at Run. Like Devin and Lexi both taking so long. Like, I don't want to be effing waiting here. I already had to wait 30 minutes for Devin to F my clock out. Like now I'm just waiting. I'm so annoyed. Text Devin to effing hurry. And you're being annoying too. Thanks for the fast replies. I'm mad at you, by the way. And he says, what? She says, like, what the F? This is at 11:04. So she says, they must have met up. And he says, what? And she's like, WTF. And he said, I wasn't looking at my phone. She says, yeah, right. You don't need to look to feel the buzz. He says, what? I really didn't. And she said, bruh, I texted you 40 times. Who's all there? If girls are there, I'm going to be mad too. Dom said, me, Kyle, and some other people. And then he says, he calls her the N-word. And then she says, I'm mad at you. Effing annoying. I'm really mad right now. You're making it worse. Like, who the F is that girl? Wait, so they were supposed to meet up, and I'm assuming they did. And then he went and did something with his friends. She said, who the F is that girl? I don't even want to be here anymore. He says, or wait, what? And he says, okay, I'm sorry. She says, no, you're not. Dom said, that dude's girlfriend. Mackenzie said, she's probably hot. Oh, no. Wait, she didn't say she was hot. My bad. She did a typo. She meant she's probably a hoe. Oh, my gosh. So there's a girl, and Mackenzie said, she's probably a hoe. And thanks for making me stand. Smiley. Okay, wait. So they're actually hanging out together again, and they're fighting while they're together. That always confuses me, because why are you fighting and texting when you're right next to each other? Okay, so she says, Smiley. He says, bruh, I don't give an F. He says, you don't have to. She says, so I'm going to stand? WTF? Like, are you trying to make this worse? Like, it's not hard to not be a DICK. And she says, I'm sorry, I have a really hard day tomorrow and I've been stressed out about it, Dom. You know that I never mean you to make you mad. I care about you way too much. She says that at 1:45 a.m. She says, I just been tweaked my anxiety, been too much these last days. I have like no nails. I love you, babe. I'm just cuddling your blanket right now. I'm so sad. He says, okay. She says, say more. You know I'm stressed, babe. I'm sorry. I can't sleep. He says, I know. She says, next time if something like this happens again, I'll be more chill. I just really had a rough night. He says, okay. Good night. And she says, good night, babe. She says, text me if you can't sleep. He says, I'm not going to sleep. She says, oh, neither am I. I'm trying to, though. He says, okay. She says, please don't be mad at me. He says, I won't. I'm sorry. She says, it's okay. I am sorry too, baby. I'm on. So then she texts in the morning, I'm on my way there. I'm scared. She means her appointment. Okay. We're ending that tonight there. So we're ending at, hey, Just Jay, we're ending that on the dentist appointment. Oh, wait, I got to make notes because then I'll forget for tomorrow. We read over 1,000 pages tonight. Woo-hoo. We're almost to 2021 too. I can't wait. Mental case. I know. Wow, 3 hours. Yes. And I'm going to come back tomorrow and do more. I'm hoping to do Mackenzie live earlier tomorrow so we can go a little bit longer. So be there or be square. Please turn on your notifications. Make sure you guys don't miss the earlier lives. I'm going to do like a makeup hangout one, and then I'm going to do another true crime case, the Treviso. And then I want to also get started on Brian Koberger. Wow, I know. Bet. And then Mackenzie, but we'll see what we have time for, but definitely Mackenzie live tomorrow. I want to do either a longer one or I want to do 2 Mackenzies because I want to get through these messages. We want to get to the next year. Wow, girl. So glad I got your, yes. Please turn on your notifications. Thank you guys for being here. Has it been 3 hours already? Oh my gosh. We get lost in each other's eyes. No. Yeah. Wow. I didn't even realize it has been 3 hours. My voice would be shot. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Come back tomorrow. I will schedule the lives. Give me like an hour and then I'll schedule them so you guys can see what will be going on tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Shout out to my mods. Thank you for hanging out. Make sure you guys come back for tomorrow's live. Wow, that's crazy. We've been doing this, you guys. This is part 10. Yes. Yeah. Yep. We're on double digits here. Sweet dreams all. Thank you, Sassy Pants. Who's going to come cuddle me? Now let's cuddle. Next time I have a dentist appointment, someone better come cuddle me. Anyways, okay. Please hype it up, hit the like button, and do all the YouTube things. And please make sure to turn on your notifications because I never know when YouTube's playing with the notifications, and I want to make sure you guys don't miss it. Thank you so much for being here. See you tomorrow. Like I said, make sure you guys hit the like button, and then definitely I said I would schedule the lives so you guys can kind of plan out your day around it if you have things to do. Thank you so much for being here. Hit the like button on the way out. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.
Try to hide away, so all they do is work. But nobody can hide when she gets a hold of that paperwork. So don't you dare come in here acting like a jerk. Dance might make her dance, but new court docs will make her wanna twerk. Dark hair shining in the Cali sun. Landed on the case, on no point in trying to run. You Sims can ask for feet pics, but you getting none. It's 5 o'clock with Melly, let's have some fun. true crime like it's a drug. Karma caught with Melly is your motherfucking plug. Going so hard on criminals, they'll call their mama for a hug. She's finding out all the stuff they try to sweep under the rug. Dark hair shining in the Cali sun. Melly on the case, so no point in trying to run. Your sense can